Hey guys! Tonight we're not setting sail for the roughest waters history has to offer. No greasy pirates, no half-starved sailors wondering who stole the last biscuit, and certainly no parrots judging your life choices. Instead, we're stepping into something far more claustrophobic, grimy, and honestly much easier to die in. The industrial slums of the 19th and early 20th century. But before we wander into narrow alleys, smoke-choked air, and neighborhoods where the rats pay rent and you don't, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you actually enjoy the strange, mildly disturbing things we talk about here. And leave a comment telling me where you're listening from and what time it is. Somehow it's always 2 a.m. somewhere, and 2 a.m. is when thinking about sewage, smog, and collapsing brickwork for fun suddenly makes sense. Now dim those lights. Switch on a fan for that soft, white noise. Imagine it as the sound of a distant factory machine, but less dangerous to your fingers. Get comfortable, tuck your feet in, and maybe check under the blanket just once. Not because I expect rats, but because they would expect you. Let's pause. Have you ever wondered what life was really like in those industrial-era neighborhoods? Not the movie version with romantic fog and old-timey violin music, the real one, where 10 families shared one room, where sewage ran down the street like an open invitation to cholera, where the air tasted like burnt coal and sadness, where the walls were so thin you could hear your neighbor breathe, or cough, or steal your bread. Tonight, with Sleepy Oogway guiding us, we'll wander through slums where survival wasn't heroic, it was a daily negotiation. We'll explore the cramped housing, the polluted rivers, the children working long before sunrise, and the horrifying reality that soap was a luxury, not a given. We'll meet people who laughed anyway, who loved anyway, who lived anyway, even when the odds told them they shouldn't. And don't worry, we'll move gently through the grime, softly through the smoke, slowly through the shadows of a time when simply breathing could be hazardous. So settle in, let your breathing slow. Feel grateful for clean sheets, clean water, and the miraculous absence of factory soot in your pillow. Tonight, we're discovering why you, yes, you, would not last a single night in an industrial slum. Now, let's begin. Chapter 1. 8 feet below the world. 8 feet beneath a busy city street, far below the rumble of carts and footsteps, lies a cramped underground cellar rarely seen by the sun. Down here, the world is smaller, the air is still. The stone walls press close like ancient ribs, slick with beads of moisture that glimmer faintly in the half-light. Every surface feels cold, damp, and patient, as though time itself has settled thickly into the floor. The ceiling hangs low, uneven and rough. If you stood up too quickly, the rock would meet your scalp before reason could catch up. People learn to move here with a slight hunch, shoulders rounded, neck tucked, like creatures adapted to a cave. In this place, survival is not about comfort. It is about enduring until dawn. A faint glow filters through a small trapdoor above, the only opening to the world outside. Dust floats lazily within that thin beam of light, turning slowly like tiny planets suspended in a hazy atmosphere. Beyond. That opening is the city. Alive, loud, unaware. Traders shout, horses clatter, smoke rises. Life continues without knowing the quiet struggle beneath it. Down here, everything is slower. The light reaches only so far before darkness swallows the rest. In the corners, shadows sit, unmoving, dense and heavy. Storage crates lean against the stone, damp wood swollen from years of seepage. A rusted metal bucket rests beside them, half filled with stale water that never quite evaporates. Nothing dries in a place like this. Moisture clings to everything: clothing, skin, breath. The air carries a constant scent of wet earth mixed with stagnant dust. It settles on the tongue, metallic and ancient, like soil disturbed after a long rain. Each inhale is deliberate, thicker than air should feel. In summer, humidity turns the cellar suffocating. In winter, cold bites deeply, stealing warmth from fingers and toes until they numb. Above, life goes on. Wheels roll, children laugh, workers argue, but none of that warmth reaches here. Sound arrives muffled, distant, as though traveling through layers of cotton. When someone walks past overhead, dust trembles from the ceiling in a soft rain, a reminder that the world is close, yet unreachable. The cellar is not abandoned, it is used, though rarely by choice. People come here to store what must be hidden, to sleep when there is nowhere else, or to wait out storms of the world above. A single cot sits along one wall, its thin mattress lumpy and damp. The blanket atop it smells of mildew, heavy with nights long endured. Candles burn slowly in a corner, but flame struggles here. Wick sputters, smoke clings to rock. The flame bends under the weight of moisture, as though the cellar itself resists light. Yet the small glow gives just enough vision to see. Cracked stone, dripping water, footprints frozen in mud. Time feels different underground. Hours stretch, moments lengthen, night and day blur. Without the sun, the body loses track. You listen to the rhythm above to guess the hour. Morning carts, midday chatter, evening tavern noise. When all falls silent, you know night has come. But nights down here are long. The damp settles into bone. Wind cannot reach you, but cold seeps upward from the floor in slow waves. Sleep arrives fitfully. Shadows stretch like figures in the corner of the eye. Silence becomes a companion, sometimes gentle, sometimes oppressive. You notice things you would never notice above ground. The slow drip of water, the distant vibration of the city, your own breathing echoing off the walls. The mind begins to wander. The cellar feels like a belly of stone, holding you, keeping you, testing you. And as hours pass, you understand why most would not survive a night in a place like this. Not because it is deadly, but because it is relentless. It wears down comfort. It consumes warmth. It asks patience most do not have. 8 feet below the world, you learn that survival is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is simply enduring the slow press of darkness, the scent of wet earth, the heaviness of air, waiting for a trapdoor to open, for light to widen, for morning to arrive. Up above, life continues. Down here, life slows to a hum. And until dawn returns, the cellar holds its breath with you, quiet, damp, and unyielding. Chapter 2. A whiff of exhaustion in the industrial slum. Hey guys, welcome back to your cozy nook of mildly interesting history. Tonight we're diving into something murkier than that last bit of soup you buried in the back of your fridge. Life in an industrial slum. Picture this. You've just woken up in the 19th century, the air thick enough to chew, and more odors wafting around than you'd find at a communal gym locker room. Yes, it's back to the future, but not the future of flying cars and hoverboards. No, it's a future where you might just survive by covering your mouth with a piece of cloth that was once a shirt. Before we let history swallow us whole like a dinner plate at an all-you-can-eat buffet, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, but only if you genuinely enjoy this modest window into the past. So, dim those lights, position a fan just right for that optimal, I pretend I'm not sweating vibe, and settle in to explore what it was like living in an industrial slum. Let's think about it. What kind of morning routine did people have? Was it more of a cringe-worthy jumble of, oops, I spilled coal dust in my tea? Or, where did this rat come from? How did they keep warm without Instagram meditation videos to guide them? Was there a competition for the worst cough? We'll get to all those questions soon enough because, congratulations, you've just woken up in the mid-1800s, and it's about to get very interesting. Now, let's talk about the magical journey that is breakfast. What do you think the average industrial worker ate to kick off a day filled with arduous labor? Imagine a feast consisting of leftover cabbage, probably from 3 weeks ago, boiled and sitting suspiciously in a pot that might or might not have been washed once last month. The smell alone could knock a buzzard from a gut wagon, and there's your meal, cold and full of hope. It's what we culinary experts call mystery cabbage. You might be wondering how a daily dose of cabbage could keep you energized for the day. Spoiler, it didn't. Energy levels would probably hover around slightly lower than a sloth on a bad day. As the day progressed, there you were, shoveling coal and breathing in a delightful mix of soot and industrial despair. A real zesty wake-up call. On the grind, you'll work alongside a merry band of fellow laborers, all sharing tips on how to avoid getting crushed by heavy machinery. It's like dodgeball, but with far more risk and significantly fewer rules. Have you ever tried dodging a steam engine while holding on to your dignity? No? Consider yourself lucky. One mishap, and you could end your workday as the next urban legend. Remember the guy who tried to outrun a factory door? Poor soul. Speaking of urban myths, let's delve into the living quarters, if you dare. You thought your roommate's snoring was a nightmare? In an industrial slum, it was a concert, with symphonies of toot-toot train whistles, the melodious screech of metal, and the occasional wail of impoverished cats auditioning for their own dramatic roles. If your home was lucky, it had walls. But let's be real, they were more of a suggestion than an actual structure. Walls were likely a hodgepodge of flimsy boards, wallpapered with a fine layer of sweat and the odd rat droppings for artistic flair. As you drift off to sleep at night, you'll be serenaded by the sweet sounds of a roof leaking like a sieve. Is it raining? Nope, that's just the neighbor's roof weeping for their lost sanity. Every drop of water, a little reminder that the universe does indeed have a sense of humor. Think you can secure a good night's sleep? Good luck not dreaming of being crushed by a collapsing roof. In the midst of all this chaos, everyday luxuries like clean clothes became an abstract concept best left for wealthier classes. Washing your clothes? Overrated. You may have traded in the bliss of a laundromat for the exhilarating adventure of evaporation. Why wash when you can air dry them on your bod? That way, you get to save water and achieve the glistening aroma of eau de coal mine all at once. By now, you might have realized that surviving a night in an industrial slum was akin to participating in a reality show where no one wins and everyone suffers. It was horrible, but strangely comedic at the same time, like an elaborate theatrical play where the script was lost and they just winged it with dance numbers involving actual soot. So if you thought your stress levels were high from a work deadline, think again. As we wrap up our bustling day in the industrial slum, crawling under your grimy quilt stuffed with secondhand hopes and dreams, be grateful for the thumping in your heart, the clean air of your modern home, and the distinct aroma of your favorite takeout wafting through the night. You had options, plenty of them, really. Instead of drowning in despair, you can embrace the smell of fresh laundry and maybe indulge in a nap as you ponder how far we've come. So, there you have it, the extraordinary, slightly absurd, and vividly historical tale of survival amidst the soot. And you thought you woke up in a nightmare. Chapter 3: The Girl with a Cough and the Trials of Domesticity. Hey guys, welcome back to your snug oasis of mildly interesting history. Tonight, we venture into a world that makes your last family road trip seem like a 5-star vacation. Picture this: a dimly lit room with the faint, lingering scent of yesterday's disappointment and today's cabbage soup. Yes, that's right. We're diving into the life of a young girl in an industrial slum circa 1830, where the air is thick enough to slice, but not quite enough to suffocate. Yet. Now, before we plunge into this marvelous mess, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, but only if your heart truly desires more mildly peculiar tales from the past. So, dim those lights, adjust your blanket fortress, and let's get comfortable amidst the soot and gloom. Ever wondered what it's like to wake up with dampened spirits and the persistent cough of a young chimney sweep? Or how you'd cope with a morning routine that might involve dodging an assortment of vermin while searching for a limp piece of bread? Maybe you've pondered how a girl's dreams of sugar plums are abruptly replaced by visions of an overripe potato. Rest assured, we'll unravel those questions as we peel back the layers of time. Congratulations! You've just woken up in an industrial slum in 1830. And when I say woken up, I mean you've opened your eyes to a life filled with the cozy charm of dirt, despair, and an occasional rat scurrying by, just to liven things up a bit. Let's talk about our friend, the young girl in the faded cotton dress. She sidles against the cold, uninviting wall, her pale face illuminated by the feeble light filtering through a grimy window that may or may not have been cleaned since last Tuesday. Her tired eyes tell a story, a tragic telenovela, if you will, full of high drama, hard knocks, and a constant plea for a hot cup of something that wasn't brewed in yesterday's ashes. But, wait, what's this? Oh yes, the cough. That persistent little reminder of her close companionship with coal dust, and the occasional whiff of something resembling a stew gone wrong. It's the kind of cough that demands attention and sympathy, but mostly just gets side eyes and whispers about the latest rat infestation. You know, the regular discourse of a day in the life. The room she calls home is more of a suggestion than an actual dwelling. Picture walls that negotiate their shapes every time a strong wind blows, and a floor that surely has plot holes deeper than the stories you tell at the dinner table. And then I woke up and it was raining inside. At least the walls keep the stray cats company, who take their role as feral housemates a little too seriously, offering unsolicited midnight serenades. Let's not forget her greatest treasure, the blanket. Yes, that marvel of industrial innovation, a quilt made from what seems to be leftovers of rotten fabric, perfect for keeping the cold and the dreams of a better life at bay. Who needs soft, fluffy comforters when you have this family heirloom that doubles as a scratchy memory of better times? And now, let's dive deeper into her culinary life. Breakfast wasn't served on a gold platter in those days, oh no. Instead, envision a hand-me-down bowl filled with something known as reliable gruel. It's a delightful concoction that vaguely remembers being porridge, but has dropped a few eggshells along the way. That's right, breakfast also served as a delightful game of Guess What's Floating, an experience that not even your least favorite relative could ruin. But have no fear, if she's lucky, today's gruel contains a hint of flavor, maybe from that other exciting breakfast option, last week's leftover cabbage. Deliciously putrid and slightly crunchy, each mouthful gives her deep insight into the mysteries of suffering, and just how soft her hopes have washed away in the tides of inadequate nutrition. As the day unfolds, our young protagonist bravely faces washing. You might think, how hard could it be? But if you've ever attempted to take a bath in an ice-cold barrel while dodging the local wildlife, you know it's like flossing with pine needles, confusing, painful, and entirely impractical. So really, it's not such a stretch to find that soap is about as popular as a tax collector in this neighborhood. You see, washing clothes is a Herculean task she's not likely to conquer today. After all, it's a simple choice between using precious water to scrub her garments or just letting nature's funky aroma take the lead. Spoiler, that fabulous farm scent can attract a certain type of companionship, namely flies, and even throwback rodents that consider your clothes a cozy home. But alas, who could blame her for feeling a touch heroic in the face of such relentless adversity? She finds laughter amid despair, Humor dripped in coal, dust, and a touch of absurdity in her daily existence. The girl with the pale face and tired eyes has learned to find joy in the small victories, like making it through a day without being mistaken for a new species of vermin. As the twilight settles in, she curls up, gripped by a gentle cough and shrouded in the coarse quilt, feeling an odd determination swirling inside her. Why? Because, dear listener, even in a world where survival is more challenging than assembling IKEA furniture without instructions, she has carved out a place, not just on the floor, but in her heart, where hope and grit flourish like the unexpected scent of a freshly baked loaf. That's life in the slum, where comedy meets hardship, and humanity shares the space like roommates who never learned the art of sharing a fridge. It's absurd, it's gritty, and it's oh so exactly what we call mildly interesting. Chapter 4. A Night in the Cellar. You definitely won't survive. Hey guys, welcome back to your cozy corner of mildly interesting history, where tonight's scene is less charming than a dentist's waiting room and twice as stuffy. Imagine, if you will, hunkering down in a dank cellar, the ambiance brought to you by the sweet aroma of despair and damp stone. Yes, you guessed it, this is the life of an industrial laborer in 1830, where sleeping arrangements could double as an episode of Survivor, Urban Edition. Now, before we dive into this marvelous maze of misery, go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment. But only if you're genuinely entertained by the chaotic circus that is history. So, dim those lights, crank up the fan, because who wouldn't love a slight breeze of damp rag, and let's get cozy in the gloom. Ever wondered how difficult it could be to sleep when your outstanding bedfellow is the fear of rat nibbles? Or why the most exciting part of your evening could very well involve dodging the sound of dripping water that may or may not be from a leaky pipe? Or perhaps the ghost of dinners past? What if your dreams are interrupted by the persistent inhalation of something resembling coal dust? Grab a pillow and prepare to be whisked away. Congratulations! You've just woken up in a dimly lit cellar circa 1830, where the only thing lower than the ceiling is the morale of its occupants. You find yourself nestled into the cold embrace of rough stone walls, with the undeniable perfume of overtired humanity wafting through the air. Oh yes, your companions are a cheerful bunch of moths dancing over last week's cabbage remains and the gurgled symphony of someone's heavy breathing echoing rhythmically in this cave of wonders. Let's talk about your new best friend, the old man resting in the corner. He's got a beard so gray and tangled that birds might mistake it for a suitable nesting site. His face, weather-beaten and wrinkled, tells you tales of a life spent laboring away, perhaps in mines where sunlight faintly remembers its existence. You'll notice his heavy wool coat, stained, obviously, because who wouldn't want fashion advice from a bygone era when laundry days didn't exist? His hands, rugged like craggy cliffs, are testimony to countless hours of toil, rough enough to challenge even the toughest sandpaper. Now, as you listen to his weighty snores that could very well be the soundtrack for a horror movie, you might consider what other sounds could signal your predicament. Is that the chitter of rats? Or just your imagination, adding dramatic flair to the ambiance? Either way, it's hard to tell when you're so cozy against this wall that you wonder if it might embrace you back. Spoiler, it won't. Your respite from life's troubles takes a more heroic turn when the situation turns dire, and your only source of light is that flickering candle on the windowsill. That is, if you're lucky enough to have glass to keep it from blowing out on a drafty night and other beings. Imagine being confronted with nightly dilemmas like maintaining both your warmth and your candle. Forget Game of Thrones, you're living Game of Lowlight. And let's not get started on the delightful array of sounds that create the ultimate atmospheric mixtape. The echo of dripping water could send a shiver down your spine and trigger instinctual thoughts about the state of your own bladder. Oh, the urgency. How pleasant to be torn between the safety of your corner and the horror of navigating the muddy ground, praying not to encounter some ancient potato left behind by an even sorrier soul. Now, as your eyelids grow heavy under the weight of exhaustion, or the dust in the air, who knows, let's drift into the vast realm of dreams. Close your eyes and imagine a world where you're not just a mere observer, but the hero, dodging coal dust clouds as they swirl around. You might mistake dreams of sweet pastries for visions of rancid potatoes, a culinary metaphor for unfulfilled hopes. How deliciously ironic. And in the odd twist of fate that is life in the cellar, a new dawn begins to creep in, bringing with it the first light of reality and just enough hope to keep the ball rolling, or at least squeaking slightly, like an old cartwheel. The old man stirs, and his heavy breathing morphs into a series of coughs that resound like the prelude to an ill-timed dramatic monologue. The ceiling above might start to leak bodily fluids, not just water, I assure you. And suddenly, survival becomes a game of who can hold their breath longest. This, dear listener, is the essence of the industrial slum, where humor weds hardship in a glorious, albeit absurd, dance. And you can't help but ponder, when did cozy become synonymous with cold stone floors and hints of despair? The beauty of it is that, amid all the gloom, you might just find humanity, huddled together, cozy enough in discomfort to share a laugh, or perhaps to swap tales of their grim misadventures. It's like a very bizarre version of a book club, just with drastically fewer potato chips. So, as you drift deeper into the realm of slumber, remember that while the air is thick with coal and dreams of better days may seem elusive, life in the cellar is the ultimate demonstration of resilience, and, believe it or not, a laugh or two, even against mounting adversity. Who knew? That's the beauty of it all, really. Chapter 5. The Stairway to Unpleasant Dreams. Hey guys, welcome back to your cozy corner of mildly interesting history, where today we're stepping down a narrow set of wooden stairs, steeper than your neighbor's plot to finally become a TikTok influencer. Picture this: dark, rotting wood, more damp than the bottom of a fisherman's boot, serving as the only portal to escape your new underground dwelling. Yes, you guessed it. Welcome to the thrilling life of a worker in an industrial slum circa 1830, where every night feels like you've unwittingly signed up for an escape room, but the only thing escaping is your will to stay awake. Before we get into this delightful descent, do me a favor. Like, subscribe, and drop a comment, but only if you genuinely find yourself mildly entertained by our journey through time. Because, let's be real, enduring a night in a cellar would be enough to make even the most optimistic IKEA bleary-eyed. So, let's settle in for an evening of less than comforting contemplation. Ever wondered how many rats it takes to turn a peaceful night's sleep into a high-stakes horror film? Or how a single dripping faucet could rival your worst experience with a morning alarm? With all this gloom, how do you even manage to sleep while hyperventilating in fear of the ghost of dinners past? Congratulations! You've just woken up in this damp decrepitude, where the stone walls have had enough of your emotional baggage and are plotting their own escape. The air is thick with the scent of coal dust, mingling with the hints of yesterday's cabbage, much like your dating life if your date was a stale burrito. Touch the worn wooden stairs beneath your feet. The splinters send delightful reminders of your questionable life choices rushing into your toes. You can barely make out the creaking timbre of those stairs. Is that the screams of 100 forgotten dreams? Or just your imagination adding a bit of flair to the experience? It's hard to tell while you're attempting to dodge what can only be described as an unholy alliance between an old potato and the resident rats who are definitely not paying rent. The only source of light dances nervously across the darkened room. You can only pray that the flickering candle on the windowsill, if you even have one, doesn't take its cues from your fragile emotional state and extinguish itself in a moment of panic. You could certainly dedicate a dramatic monologue to the trials of phase lighting, imagining it as your flickering hope in this cold, dusted abyss. Honestly, Watching that poor candle struggle is like witnessing a soap opera. Will it survive the harsh winds or fall victim to the uncertainty of your very existence? While waiting for it to make its decision, like a cat contemplating a jump, you notice the resident old man in the corner, snoring like a distant freight train. His beard seems to harbor enough crumbs for a small family of rodents, who are likely all holding secret family meetings under the dramatic lighting that you may or may not be providing. You half expect him to wake up and announce that he's auditioning for the role of Grumpy Gus in the next neighborhood production of A Night in the Cellar. As you settle deeper into this little slice of hell, let's have a chat about the unique offerings of sound in your enchanting underground existence. The echoes that bounce back to you could seriously inspire a new genre of lullabies. Is that the chittering of bats, or is that just my sanity cracking under pressure? And each drip from the ceiling blends into a haunting percussion that would make even the most avant-garde musician faint with envy. Remember, this is a life where every simple action carries peril. Deciding to shift slightly away from the wall may lead you straight into an ancient potato, a risk no one should have to face while searching for comfort. With every turn, there's a symphony of strange noises that further complicates the quest for shut-eye and pushes you further toward the brink of existential reflection. Do rats feel comfort when they settle down at night, or do they too question their existence with every nibble of your dreams? Amidst all this chaos, the inevitable morning light begins to creep into your underground lair, bringing with it the realization that not only did you survive the night, you also somehow managed to do so while sharing a space with a man who sounds like he's auditioning for a death metal band. Ah, the irony. You came down here to rest your weary bones, only to discover that sleep is a fickle companion, much like your last text reply from the person you swiped right on. So, as you emerge from this nightmarish abode of damp despair, embrace the absurdity of it all. In the realm of industrial slums, life is a peculiar mix of comedy and catastrophe, where humility meets hustle. And yes, dear listeners, even in such dismal circumstances, people found ways to bond over shared hardships. A sort of darkly comic potluck of misery, albeit with far fewer potato salads and way more rat encounters. As you navigate the unsteady terrain of your thoughts and drift deeper into the sweet embrace of sleep, just remember, if you ever find yourself dreaming of potatoes, it might be a sign you've been underground for far too long. Chapter 6. The Courtyard of Eternal Chores. Hey guys, welcome back to your favorite corner of mildly interesting history, where tonight we're plunging deeper into the chaotic charm of 1830. A time when spring cleaning was nothing more than a fleeting dream whispered among the soot-covered inhabitants of industrial slums. Picture this, a crowded courtyard where the mud is thicker than the plot of a reality TV show, and buildings loom overhead like judgmental gargoyles, silently critiquing your life choices. Trust me, it's about as cozy as sharing a bath with an angry porcupine, and that's just the atmosphere. Before we jump into this delightful disaster zone, do me a favor. Like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Only if you genuinely enjoy this historical journey, of course. We're not here to guilt-trip you like your mother-in-law at family gatherings. We want to keep this delightful chill fest rolling. Now, grab your favorite pillow and get those lights dimmed. Can you feel the energy? It's that unique blend of dread and anticipation that can only be summoned in a place where laundry lines double as abstract art installations for some very confused pigeons. That's right. Have you ever wondered how much laundry one would need to hang out to rival a suburban HOA's level of aggressive yard policing? Or how many rats fit into a single room before you start having existential conversations with them? Is it a family meeting or a special rat committee? Spoiler alert, it's always the same. Congratulations! You've just woken up in the year 1830, where the air is so thick with coal dust that breathing feels like attempting a sport where you're always out of breath. It's postcard perfect, only if the postcard were sponsored by the Flavors of Industry Smell Edition. The ground beneath you squishes softly like that last slice of takeout pizza you regrettably left in your fridge for a little too long. The mud is so resilient that one might tempt fate by pondering whether it's secretly acquiring sentience and plotting world domination. Let's take a stroll around this idyllic courtyard, shall we? Your feet splat across the grime, a delightful mélange of dirt and perhaps a bit of yesterday's cabbage from the nearby tenement. The buildings here stand as beacons of industry, rising up with their blackened brick facades like slightly grumpy gargoyles who've seen some things. Who needs hygiene when these monuments of soot and sweat are artfully displaying the effects of centuries of neglect? Forget about, "That's so 2020. This is the era where everyone was embracing the motto, "Dirt is the new soap." As you meander, your eyes are drawn upward to the ropes strung between upper floors like the world's grimmest circus. Laundry sways gently, stained gray, and adorned with the light dusting of years' worth of grime. You could probably knit a new sweater from what's hanging there, if, of course, didn't mind it smelling like the Industrial Revolution's very own cologne. Eau de foul air, anyone? Who needs fashion when you can have a wholesome and absolutely ghastly wardrobe? The sounds in the courtyard are a delightful soundtrack of life working in unison, or chaos. In one corner, a child is wailing as if auditioning for the lead role in Little Orphan Annie: The Grimy Years. Nearby, a group of adults are engaged in casual conversation, punctuated by the occasional yell that sounds suspiciously like someone negotiating the price of a rotten potato. Nothing says community like haggling over seemingly worthless vegetables while thick clouds of soot cascade around you like confetti at a particularly dismal party. Who knew peasants could also be part-time comedians? And let's not forget the smells wafting through the air, a concoction of coal smoke, stale cabbage, and maybe a hint of something you'd rather not identify. It's enough to make anyone rethink that late-night street food taco from last week. Ever casually wondered if your neighbor's cooking secrets could double as a medieval hazmat suit? Well, it might just be worth considering next time you walk into what passes for a kitchen here. To the right, a market stall juts forth, managed by a woman who looks as though she's just survived a battle with the last potato crop of the season. She's likely in high demand as the crowd gathers around her tables like moths to a flickering flame. As you watch, you can't help but feel a mix of admiration and sheer horror, like witnessing a game show where the contestant has to eat as many mushy vegetables as possible without vomiting. Tasty, right? As the sun sets and daylight fades, the communal experience of slum living comes full circle. Families gather to share tales of woe and laughter over whatever pottage managed to make it through the day. Their camaraderie feels strangely comforting, forged amidst adversity, like a particularly messy family reunion in a dystopian sitcom. You realize survival isn't just about making it through. It's about finding humor in the absurdity surrounding you, much like you might when navigating the twists and turns of your own contemporary life. So, as you navigate this vibrant chaos, clinging to your sanity like that last piece of toast at brunch, remember, you're not just surviving a night in an industrial slum, you're participating in a quaint historical folly that rivals everything your modern sensibilities could concoct. And hey, if you ever begin to dream of warm, fluffy beds and scented candles, just remind yourself that at least in this time, the concept of hygge wasn't even on the radar, if only to stave off the existential dread of realizing you signed up for the world's longest sleepover. As you drift deeper into this mildly interesting history lesson, let the absurdity cradle you like a gently muttering grandfather, forever sharing. Stories from the time when people were gruesomely inventive, and not always in the most delightful of ways. Chapter 7. A Rusty Well of Regrets. Hey guys, welcome back to this cozy, history-infused dreamscape, where tonight we find ourselves huddled around something colder than a winter bath in a Victorian manor, an iron water pump smack dab in the center of a murky courtyard. Think of this pump as the only source of H2O for dozens of families, kind of like a water cooler in an office, except instead of idle chit-chat about last weekend's Netflix binge, you're hearing heartfelt tales of debauchery over a bucket of sewage. Before we plunge into the puddle of hilarity ahead, go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment, but only if you're genuinely getting a chuckle out of this historical jaunt. We're not aiming for any guilt trips here. It's not Thanksgiving dinner with your family after all. Now, settle in, dim those lights, perhaps turn on a fan for a gentle breeze, because who doesn't love a bit of atmospheric draft, and get comfortable. Picture this. You're standing in line, gripping a wooden bucket, silently praying it's not infested with the remnants of last week's pea soup. Have you ever wondered how many different ways you could jostle a bucket without spilling your precious liquid? Or perhaps how a little drop of water on your head feels like a luxury compared to the chaos around you? Well, hold tight. Tonight, we're venturing into the vibrant, albeit questionable, life surrounding the dawn of industrial slums in 1830. Congratulations, you've just woken up in 1830, where the air is as thick as your favorite smoothie, but heavily minus its nutrient benefits. The revolutionary spirit is alive and well, and so is the unrelenting stench of coal smoke and who knows what, wafting through the air like a bad cologne that just won't wash off. You take a step forward, and your foot squelches into the mud. Yes, the beautiful, squishy mud that's about 90% mystery matter and 10% last week's cabbage. It's a culinary cocktail begging for recognition on a new experimental Instagram food page called Peasant Delicacies. Who needs a chef? As you gaze around the courtyard, you spot the rusty iron water pump standing gallantly, though perhaps a bit woefully, amidst a sea of mud and faintly disgruntled faces. The metal is so cold to the touch, it might just be auditioning for the lead role in a horror film about misunderstood appliances. This pump is basically the central hub. People gather around it like it's the last available charging port at a Starbucks. Now, let's discuss the line. A small throng of individuals, some clutching their buckets like prized possessions, and others just wishing they could delay the inevitable wait, are crammed together at the pump. Among them, there's a lady wearing a scarf that suspiciously resembles a family of raccoons in their Sunday best, and a gentleman who seems to have given up the struggle even before the first lurch of the pump's handle. You're caught between sheer desperation and existential contemplation. Why did I think this would be a good idea? Is this a social experiment? Or am I just really committed to getting some actual hydration? As you patiently wait your turn, the fog rolls in, curling around the bodies like the embrace of a needy cat wanting attention. Every muffled word floats uncertainly through the haze. You might hear certain phrases like, dropped the bucket, or lost a finger in last year's frost. The ever-optimistic, better luck next time, breaks the tension, only to be drowned out by the delightful melodrama of a child's wailing, clearly auditioning for the local tragedy troupe. The sounds are a delightful cacophony. Picture two neighbors arguing over who really was responsible for the last turnip mishap, while another one tries to barter for 3 drops of what appears to be a deliciously questionable broth. Why settle for polite conversation about the weather when you can haggle over vegetable quality? It's practically the get-rich-quick scheme of this era, minus the quick or rich part. And the smells? Oh, let's not forget the concoction of coal smoke, something that could be a cousin to burnt rubber, and the faint whiff of mystery meat processing in the background. You know the one, that nostalgic aroma that feels like regret draping itself around your shoulders. You might wonder if you could apply for a local hazmat suit. But hey, that would be asking too much in the age of practicality. As you finally reach the front of the unorganized queue, the water pumps out in a manner reminiscent of a reluctant teenager doing the dishes. The rusty mechanism groans, spewing forth the only source of life in these parts, a nice, tepid bucket of H2O. No one's entirely sure if it'll do wonders for your health, but then again, neither is anybody standing around. Congratulations, you've just succeeded in obtaining your daily ration of water, just in time to enjoy a refreshing cup of, is this safe to drink? With the sun setting and shadows creeping, the community surrounding the pump doesn't just dissolve into silence. Oh no. Families gather in corners to swap stories, laughter, and the occasional "remember when?" over a dinner of whatever can be salvaged at the local market stall. You realize that maybe the dirt, the discomfort, and the mad dash for water isn't all bad. It's oddly comforting, like gathering around a campfire and sharing horror stories, except everyone's just winging it by igniting memories of cabbage instead of marshmallows. So, drift deeper into the mildly absurd reality of this era, where humor punctuates hardship, and every sigh is matched with a chuckle. As the water pump grumbles and sputters, you can almost hear history chuckling softly, nudging you to take a sip of life, quite literally. And remember, if you ever dream of living in a pristine paradise, just remind yourself that at least it isn't as sticky as this muddy courtyard. Chapter 8. A Pitiful Design. Hey guys, welcome back to this chuckle-filled bedtime history narrative, where tonight we tiptoe around an even murkier topic than your uncle's questionable recipes after a hearty meal: the sanitation situation in the 1830s. Yes, we're about to plunge, quite literally, into the depths of industrial slum living. Before we dive into the cesspool of hilarious historical anecdotes, do me a favor. Smash that like button, subscribe, and drop us a comment. Only if you truly find joy and wanderlust through aqueous misadventures, of course. We're not trying to pressure you. This isn't one of those high-pressure sales pitches for a vacuum cleaner that promises to change your life. Now, let's set the scene, shall we? Picture yourself standing in line, heart racing, as you approach the only toilet for 40 people. Yes, that's right, a dilapidated wooden structure that resembles a treehouse, but one that only a lumberjack who lost his sense of humor could love. Maybe you've confronted drier lint clouds far more majestic. You might be asking, what do you think the view is like from there? Would the local pigeons even bother to come close? Congratulations, you've just woken up in 1830, surrounded by a cacophony of misguided hygiene practices and airborne stench. Pressed together in a crowd, you shuffle towards a structure that looks like how you'd imagine a garden shed after a chaotic tornado. This splendid throne of filth, aptly named the toilet, stands like a sad sentry, weary and weathered, just waiting for someone to brave the experience of using it. Time to describe the scene. The wood is gray and splintered, telling tales of 1,000 unfortunate bathroom experiences. Suspiciously soaked ground, bearing a strong resemblance to a poorly dug swimming pool, wraps around the structure like a welcoming embrace. But it's the kind of embrace that whispers, "You'll regret this." Overflowing during the rains, because of course, what goes down must come up. This place is surely the stuff of nightmares. I mean, if your bathroom overflowed like your cousin's enthusiasm for karaoke, you'd start questioning your life choices, wouldn't you? As the wind breezes by, you can almost smell the previous user's regrets. Can you imagine a family of 40 sharing bathroom stories? No, Gerald, that was not just a bad cabbage. That was a full-on uprising of the turnip army. Those line chatterings are likely the industry trends of the time. Now let's take a closer look at that deep pit beneath. Just imagine pooling waste, festering like an old sock in a corner of your closet. Every time it rains, the pit sends up a shimmer of dread, much like that feeling when you accidentally skim over your bank account balance post-shopping spree. You might even relate it to waking up on a Monday with a hangover, only to discover you have to battle the unseen horrors lurking in your bathroom. Yes, truly, the slums had their version of a Monday. As you shuffle forward, debating the merits of holding it in or embracing the inevitable, you can hear the sounds echoing around you. Children giggling or perhaps crying, a chorus of adults trying to negotiate their way through both the line and the social intricacies of communal toilet etiquette. Ah, yes, Susan. I find it reasonable that I get 2 minutes in there, seeing as you spent a lovely quarter hour through last week. The drama continues. Who knew bathroom lines could rival a Shakespearean play? Because it's not just about relieving yourself, it's about strategy. Thoughts race through your mind. Is there a secret code to the etiquette here? Or do you just rely on an unspoken understanding of how vital your bathroom hop really is? Did we mention the delightful scent? As you draw nearer, you can practically taste the fermented memories swirling through the air like a soup gone rogue. The warm, sticky odor wraps around you, wishing you good luck as you prepare for what many might call the experience of a lifetime. Ever tried to explain that to your friends in modern times? Oh yes, you simply must try it. It's like a room temperature mystery meat sandwich, but better. And of course, there's the issue of lighting. Inside this wooden wonder, the glimmering of a candle might cast a glow reminiscent of a horror movie, where the truly brave become the subject of folklore terrifying to future generations. Beware the legacy of old Reggie, who ventured too close. Finally getting your turn, you dash towards the rickety wooden door, which creaks ominously, like it's trying to suss out your level of bravery beforehand. What lies behind it? A throne? A trap door to some form of mystical underworld? Or something worse, a fusion of filth and 4 decades of poor hygiene? In a plot twist that would make any soap opera jealous, you brace for impact. You close your eyes, and suddenly your imagination is free fall, spiraling down a rabbit hole of questionable decisions. Congratulations, you've arrived at the wading pool of human dignity. At this point, the ancient wisdom of, if you can't laugh at yourself, you might as well cry, rings true. So, as you navigate your way through the charming, questionable sanitation practices of the 1830s, remember, sometimes life's unfortunate moments serve as comic relief in a sophisticated, albeit mildly unpleasant tale. Grab your bucket and don't forget to cover your nose, because navigating through this adventure cleverly reminds us that, yes, it could always be worse. You could be waiting your turn right now. By the time you stumble out, hopefully unscathed, you could say you've had an experience that might just make you appreciate the simplicity of modern plumbing leagues more than any 18th century pamphlet ever could. And really, you can't make this up. Chapter 9. Silhouettes of Smoke and Soot. Hey guys, welcome back to another whimsical jaunt through the quagmire of history, huddled under countless layers of grime, fog, and balderdash. Tonight, we dive into an air quality situation worse than your cousin's gym socks after an all-day tutorial on how to improperly use the treadmill. We're diving headfirst into the Industrial Revolution of 1830, where the air is so thick you'd need a swimming pool noodle to breathe. Before we plunge into the murky waters of coal fumes and brick chimneys, do me a solid. Smash that like button, subscribe, and drop us a comment, but only if your fingers aren't too greasy from your late-night snack. We're not demanding you do anything. We just like to think of it as proactive encouragement. Now, take a moment to get comfy. Dim those lights, fluff up your pillows, and slip into your coziest pajamas. Let your imagination flit away like a particularly rebellious butterfly, spiraling into the depths of a Victorian smog dream. What was life like for the good folks living in the thick of it back then? Did they ever stop and think that maybe, just maybe, coughing up a lung every morning was excessive? How did they engage in daily chit-chat when everything they said came out as a choking cloud of gray? You'd think more than just pigeons would drop from the sky under that blanket of soot, right? Spoiler, they didn't. Utterly shocking. Congratulations, you've just woken up in 1830, right in the heart of an industrial slum, where the skyline is dominated by towering brick chimneys, those majestic monoliths of smoke and despair. Standing beneath one of these chimneys, you'd wonder if the local birds had become advanced escape artists, refusing to linger in a sky so thick with coal smoke it made even the sun appear timid and weak, like a child hiding behind its mother's skirts. The visual spectacle is quite striking, really. The infrastructure looms with an aura of industrial elegance, A grim fashion statement, if you will. These towers puff out thick clouds of coal smoke, black as your last cup of badly brewed coffee, with an aroma reminiscent of despair and last night's regrettable takeout. Who knew that such charm could be found in the fine art of air pollution? Imagine, if you will, the delightful sensation of smog wafting into your lungs like a particularly uninvited guest at an awkward dinner party. Just how much fun could you have engaging in meaningful conversations with your neighbors through the thick veil of smog? Good morning, Fred. Is that an existential crisis I smell? Or just last week's fish stew? It's time to take a waltz down the street, if you can manage it through the semi-permanent haze. As you navigate cobblestone paths, your feet squish against slick, muddied remnants of, well, let's just say that slums had a unique approach to waste disposal that'd make modern sanitation engineers weep with grief. Your toes rejoice in that lukewarm puddle that your neighbor insists is just a bit of rainwater. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Imagine walking to the local market, eyes watering from a heady mix of soot and fear as children scamper by, barely avoiding the raucous cart of a potato vendor whose wares are as questionable as the origins of his hours-old products. Are those potatoes, or are they going to come alive in the middle of the night, you ponder, just as a bug scuttles past? Don't look now, but there might be a small chance your next meal had more legs than you'd bargained for. As you peruse the market, if you can see through the haze, you catch snippets of conversation floating about. An old lady is droning on about her ailments, half-heartedly attributing them to the coal dust that's wedged in her respiratory system like an uninvited house guest. Oh, it's just a bit of cold cough. Nothing a good laugh and a pint of murky ale can't fix, she quips merrily. Your modern-day gym buddies would scoff, that's not how breathing works. The buzz of machinery resonates around you, creating an oddly symphonic backdrop of the grinding gears and the desperate wheezing of iron plates. Can you imagine working in this atmosphere? You might as well be attempting to knit with your eyes closed while riding a roller coaster. Would your workplace grievances include inhaling dust equivalent to a whole week's worth of unwashed socks? Or would you be eager for that daily dose of officer-approved lung irreparable damage? Evenings bring a peculiar charm, with families clustering around flickering candles that sway like tipsy party guests, illuminating faces covered in soot and a palpable sense of shared misery. Well, don't mind my facial filth. It's practically a brand at this point. Ah yes, bonding through suffering. It's as if you're at a support group for the ridiculously industrious. A distant bell tolls, signaling the end of another working day. You'd think it would bring relief. Instead, the air thickens with anticipation and the chatter of people navigating their way through clouds of filth. Dinner? Good luck trying to cook when your kitchen is more akin to a chemistry lab experiment gone wrong. So, as you wrap yourself in layers of smog and neglect, do remember this charming little nugget. In the quest for progress, some civilizations traded breathing easily for the ability to boast about coal production. Life in the slums teaches you that comfort is purely relative, much like your neighbor's opinion on how old that potato really is. And there you have it, the realities of 1830s industrial living, where every breath is a reminder that you could be doing worse, like eating that potato stirred into the murky depths of town gossip. Enjoy your evening as the soot settles, reminding you that somewhere, someone is out there polishing their brass doorknobs and longing for clean air. And as the day wraps itself in gray, it's all a bit less bleak than it could be, if only by virtue of laughter and a decent sense of humor. Chapter 10. The Glamour of Gin and Grime. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of History is Funnier Than Your Ex's Text Messages. Tonight, we're taking a stroll through a particularly peculiar street scene, filled with contrasts that are more pronounced than your Aunt Mildred's ambition to cover every inch of her walls with those life-sized cat portraits. Picture this. One block away from the admirable Georgian mansions adorned with white columns, where wealthy merchants strut like peacocks in their top hats. You are staring in disbelief at the crumbling slums, where beggars appear more like forgotten props in a tragic play that no one's directing. But before you start picturing yourself as an 1830s rent collector with the worst luck ever, take a moment to scroll down and smash that like button, subscribe, or leave a comment, if you actually enjoy this, of course. We're not here to twist your arm. We're just nudging you towards historical hilarity. Now get as cozy as a grandma's quilt. Fluff those pillows, grab a warm drink, and dim the lights. The air in here should be serene, like a gentle breeze wafting through the countryside, not a rancid swirl of coal fumes and mischief. As you settle in, let's ponder a few absurd questions. Ever wondered what it's like to be wealthy when your neighbors live in a place the health department wouldn't let a raccoon enter? Or to live in luxury while stepping over the daily parade of people using very creative terminology to avoid direct eye contact? How does a merchant balance social graces while knowing they just walked through a puddle that could double as a science experiment? Congratulations, you've just woken up in 1830, and the contrast of society hits you like an overripe tomato. The posh and the pathetic, juxtaposed, playing out in a comedy of errors just a stone's throw away from decadent comfort. The streets are alive with rich merchants flaunting their finely woven coats that are somehow, mysteriously, free of the lingering stench of despair. Or at least, they pretend it is. As you meander down the cobbled paths, you're greeted by the sight of those grand Georgian mansions, proudly displaying their white columns as if saying, "Look at us, we've done okay." They stand tall, puffed up like a cat just discovering a laser pointer, while the slums nearby look as if they genuinely threw in the towel some time ago. In the realm of architectural competition, the mansions are comfortably winning, those joyous columns dancing atop layers of faded glamour. But wait, look down, and you'll spot the contrasts shimmering on the ground. The rich marble of well-polished sidewalks competing with the muddied remnants of slum life. There's a broken shoe or two, perhaps mismatched socks, sitting shyly, as if trying desperately to blend into the well-heeled crowd. The mere thought of being squashed together with a collection of cobbled mess is mind-boggling. It's like trying to find comfort wearing a footed onesie while simultaneously attending the Met Gala. They say opposites attract, but my goodness, this is a pairing no one was waiting for. As people dart by, you can't help but notice a merchant's silk top hat bobbing above the grime like a particularly fancy buoy in a sea of filth. The wealthy scroll by with an air of dignity, sipping the finest gin as if the sun could be captured in a glass. Have you tried the latest vintage distilled from the tears of slaves? Divine, one might say, oblivious to the staring eyes of children wrapped in rags who look like they might actually steal your soul if given half a chance. Speaking of children, as they bustle past you, keep your eyes peeled. One impish little scamp with a face dirty enough to raise an eyebrow might just figure out a way to avoid work by charming you into giving him your leftover bread. Penny for your thoughts? How about one piece of moldy bread for my survival? It's a toddler's hustle that would make a modern-day entrepreneur proud. Let's take a moment to appreciate the melodious hum of industry that fills the air. Imagine the sound of factories churning away, the rhythmic clanking echoing like the worst experimentation of a percussion class, consisting of 1,000 pots and pans. No wonder those wealthy folks keep their windows shut. Who needs an industrial symphony punctuated by the desperate calls of street vendors selling questionable potatoes and even more questionable morals? As you stroll past the potato vendor with all the enthusiasm of a child watching a magician who just revealed the secrets behind his tricks, your modern sensibility cringes. The spuds are a bit too knobby, more legs than you'd expect from something that's meant to layer your beloved shepherd's pie. Wondering how on earth this man manages to get away with selling them like fine jewels. "Come one, come all, guaranteed none taste surprises today," he cries with gusto. And then, in a heart-stopping, glittering moment, you realize those top hats aren't just for show. They serve a dual purpose. They keep you looking dignified while simultaneously capturing the odd pigeon that still wanders too close. A quick nod in its direction might have you believing it is nothing but a feathered messenger of doom, wandering off to tell tales of the unfortunate hogwash that lives mere blocks away, denying any shame. As evening sets in, those grand mansions glow softly, illuminating the struggle around them, the flicker of candlelight fighting a losing battle against the encroaching darkness. In the dimmest corners, families huddle together, sharing whispers and stories of their day like a nocturnal collective, reminiscent of a victorious band of survivors, hoping to evade the shadows that loom outside. Even in their squalor, these families seem to find solace. They snicker about the absurdity of wealthy folk matching their pocket watches to the color of their waistcoats. "I'd give my left shoe for a cup of fresh air instead of this artisan dust," quips a laughing father, quickly tapping his arm against his wife's shoulder before the laughter gives way to a theatrical sigh. Because in a world where the distribution of wealth feels like a game of snakes and ladders gone awry, what else could anyone do but laugh? So as you drift into the serenity of this uniquely grim sight, the rich flaunting their spoils while the poor shimmy in the shadows like the background dancers of a tragedy, keep in mind, in the grand history of humanity, the two extremes have always lived parallel lives like unwitting actors on the same stage. And maybe, just maybe, your next escape could be just as wonderfully ridiculous. Embrace the whispers of yesteryears, full of debate, dust, and tender laughter, reminding you that laughter is indeed a staple of survival across all ages. Chapter 11. The horse-drawn drama of industrial life. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of History is Funnier Than Your Ex's Text Messages. Tonight, we're diving headfirst into a world where the streets are muddier than your ex's excuses for ghosting you. So, settle in, grab a plush pillow, preferably one that doesn't smell like yesterday's leftovers, and let's embark on a journey through the majestic chaos of 1830s London, where the air is thick with ambition, smoke, and, let's be honest, an array of odors that could melt your nose hairs faster than bad cologne at a middle school dance. Now picture this. You're sailing the muddy streets in a heavy, ornate carriage, pulled by two black horses as elegant as they are dramatic. Ever wondered how many potholes a carriage can hit before the driver bursts into a Shakespearean sonnet? Spoiler alert, a lot. If you find yourself rattling about like a marble in a tin can, count yourself lucky you weren't born just a smidge later, when the Industrial Revolution would transform those elegant roads into perilous obstacle courses, where you might even lose a shoe, or two. Before we cart off into the historical distances, let me kindly remind you, if you enjoy this cornucopia of chaotic historical hilarity, make sure to hit that like button harder than a blacksmith shaping iron. Subscribe, comment, and engage only if you enjoy it though. No peer pressure here, just good old-fashioned fun. As you nestle in, dim the lights and picture this. Have you ever wondered how someone lives in a home literally next door to a factory that releases enough smoke to audition for a villain's role in a Batman movie? Or what it must feel like to step out into the streets and have your first breath nearly knock you over like a friendly, yet overzealous mule. And just imagine attempting breakfast in a house where breakfast is an adventurous gamification of, guess what's in the air today? Each whiff is a new potential for culinary disappointment. Congratulations, you've just woken up in 1830, right in the thick of the bustling, chaotic, and sometimes downright filthy epicenter of the Industrial Revolution. A time where progress and poverty shared a cab, like an ill-matched couple on a date gone wrong. We're talking about a society that juxtaposes the opulent with the abhorrent in delightful yet disgusting new ways. Your carriage, that symbol of wealth, rolls over mud, more mud than you'd find in a pig pen during monsoon season. And look closely. You might see a discarded top hat bobbing about, stranded in a puddle like a shipwreck explorer who bit off more than he could chew. As you peer out of the polished wooden windows, the lavish velvet of your dress brushing against the carriage's interior like the fabric of a movie star's gown, let's take stock of the scenery. The streets are alive, or perhaps more accurately, alive in a way that might cause you to contemplate your life decisions. There are merchants yelling the names of their wares with the fervor of sports commentators, only instead of apples and oranges, it's trinkets, questionable meats, and what could pass for fabric but might actually just be cleverly repurposed rags. Picture an array of pedestrians, weaving through muck like a game of human Frogger, dodging puddles that look more like small lakes. Is it perhaps the start of the next Olympic sport? Puddle hurdling, episode 1? As you jostle in your seat, a thought strikes. How do all these people manage to wear such distinguished clothing amidst an obstacle course of mud and despair? Well, dear listener, they employ the age-old art of denial, enhanced with a hearty dose of fresh-pressed linen, guaranteed to be as resistant to stains as it is to everyday logic. Now, let's imagine stepping out of that glorious carriage into the cacophony of noises surrounding you, clanking metal, the distant wail of machinery, and, of course, the cheery sound of street urchins shouting an impromptu chorus about how hunger is the best spice. You know, classic family values right there. Can you smell that delightful mix of coal smoke and the local tavern stew bubbling away? Ah, yes. Nothing says breakfast like the essence of charred dreams mingling with dodgy decisions. Suddenly, a child with anxiety-inducing tenacity approaches you, eyes wide as saucers, ready to sell you everything from useful information about next door's secret pie recipe to the latest gossip about Sir Stumble-Through-the-Mud himself. A penny for your thoughts, 2 pennies for lunch, though I think I can manage with just some breadcrumbs, thank you. You can't help but smirk at the entrepreneurial spirit. Who needs a formal education when you've got the gift of the gab? What do you do next? Do you reach for your coins or yearn for the safety of that opulent carriage? A million thoughts swirl in your head as you venture further down the alley. You might just find your thoughts clouded by the soot and grime, awaiting the musings of how you got here. Perhaps a warm cup of tea would melt the chaos away. Then again, you remember you were never that lucky in London. Hang tight though, for as you wander, don't let the gloom dull your spirit. After all, there's something somewhat poetic about being surrounded by hustle, bustle, and a distinct lack of proper sanitation. Raise a toast, with your imaginary gin, as that's all you can afford, to humanity's splendidly chaotic nature, facing the onslaught of modernity with all the grace of a duck on roller skates. In this remarkable intersection of lavish lifestyles and gritty poverty, you witness a living mosaic of over-the-top hats, tattered garments, and spirited ambition. Yes, it's true. The Industrial Revolution may have found its own way of turning people into walking, talking contradictions, like bacon-wrapped tofu. So, as you eventually circle back toward that ornate carriage, pausing momentarily to throw a few coins to a hopeful child, let them know that, unlike the muddy streets of London, life is certainly not short of surprises. In this whirlwind of history, laughter, and humanity's farcical pursuit of progress, you've just journeyed through a slice of time that'll prove just as entertaining as trying to explain a text message mix-up to your own friends. As the carriage doors shut, a comforting thought crosses your mind. At least you're not stuck ordering takeout from the industrial slums diner, where the special is always mystery meat. Chapter 12. A Breath of Industrial Misery. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of History is Funnier Than Your Ex's Text Messages. Tonight, we're diving into a world where the air is so thick with soot and stench, you'd think a particularly unkempt dragon had decided to set up shop in the middle of a sweltering summer. Prepare yourself for a history lesson that smells worse than your gym socks. We're headed straight into the heart of an industrial slum, where survival is not just about dodging the odd carriage, but rather navigating a noxious obstacle course that'll leave you questioning the very meaning of life. Kind of like reading your ex's last message. Now, as you settle in, let's take a moment to confront the absurdity of this situation. Have you ever wondered how you'd manage to survive in a place where bathing is an event so rare it warrants a public holiday? Or have you pondered how it feels to wake up and know the smell of coal smoke is essentially your morning perfume? Picture that moment when you contemplate breakfast while braving a platform of mud that might have been last season's soup. So, grab your favorite blanket, dim those lights, and let your imagination unravel like an old sock. Congratulations! You've just woken up in 1830, surrounded by the bustling chaos of London's industrial slums. The air is a robust concoction of horse manure, coal smoke, and a hint of salt air that could knock over a mature adult. Imagine it landing on your skin like a clingy X at a party, heavy and icky. Yes, it's quite the aroma. Every breath you take transports a metallic taste straight to your lungs, like the last sip of a cheap soda left out in the sun. Where to begin, you ask? Let's address the first glaring detail: the streets. Oh, those marvelous thoroughfares that look like they haven't seen a good wash since the last time someone lost a bet. Picture walking down a muddy lane that's about 87% liquid and 13% sad, while trying to navigate a delightful array of obstacles. You'll sidestep a puddle that clings to your shoes with the fervor of an overly enthusiastic toddler trying to make a new friend. Meanwhile, there's a nearby market, where goods are sold with the sort of fervor only matched by a Black Friday mob. But instead of flat-screen TVs, you'll find questionable meats and fabrics that have seen better centuries. And let's not forget the delightful local gossip wafting through the air like the distinct scent of burnt toast. Vendors shout about their wares with vigor akin to that of a sports announcer at the championship finals. Get your fresh fish, a little bit questionable but sure to test your luck. Step right up, folks. It's a cacophony that ignites the kind of joy that's hard to cultivate. When the odds are good, you might have just inhaled something less than appetizing. Now, my dear listener, before you get too attached to this picture of urban charm, let's carefully step away from that last mouthful of temporarily abandoned optimism. Because you're looking at houses that, let's say, are not exactly equipped to handle a winter storm, let alone an invasion of nosy pigeons. These homes are more like glorified crates decorated with an artistic touch of desperation. The roofs sag under the relentless weight of reality, and the walls, oh, the walls. They were lovingly constructed with things we generally prefer to keep away from our homes: mud, straw, and, if you're lucky, a sprinkle of good fortune. Trinkets from the past cling to these crumbling structures, like bad memories that just won't let go. Perhaps you'll notice a window, if you can call it that. It's more like a hopeful suggestion of transparency covered with tattered rags. Sure, there's a bit of light coming through, but maybe that's just the sun trying to make an optimistic guest appearance amidst the slate-gray gloom. As you venture further, don't miss the children running through the streets like caffeinated squirrels on a sugar high. They navigate the muck like parkour pros, unless they're trying to peddle their goods further down the lane. Freshly baked bread, maybe? They gleam with the innocence of youth, while simultaneously embodying the entrepreneurial spirit that thrives amidst adversity. Ever tried selling questionable baked goods while dodging an angry goose? A moment passes, and you'll find yourself standing in a tavern that appears to be somewhere on the busy intersection of potentially life-threatening and what on earth were they thinking? Imagine a place where they serve stew so thick it could stand up and ask you how your day was. Just don't ask about the secret ingredient, unless you're okay with the idea that secret could mean the last thing anyone could identify. And round about now, as you sip your suspicious broth, a thought occurs. Could anyone, in good conscience, believe any of this was a good idea? As you ponder this monumental question and the ethics of mystery meat, the joy of life mingles with the absurdity that every day is a new opportunity to be slightly confused, much like trying to find parking in a modern city. So take a deep breath, if you dare. Each inhale is a lullaby of industrial ambition, grounded in the reality that progress isn't always glamorous. And perhaps, just perhaps, you'll start to appreciate that life, even in its muddy, smoky form, is a vast historical tapestry woven with laughs, shades of despair, and just enough intrigue to make you grateful you're not family members with those street vendors. And as you retreat back into your memory of horse-drawn dramas and muddy escapades, let the thought linger. Somewhere out there, among the cobblestones and smoke-filled dreams, lies the heart of human resilience. It might not smell so sweet, but it definitely has the best stories to tell. So, here's
to an era where survival means dodging a puddle and making ambiguous choices about your next meal.
Because if you can't find humor in your existence, well, then the steam from the factory might just set your aspirations on fire. Inspiration, Chapter 13, A Port of Regret and Tall Tales. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of History is Funnier Than Your Ex's Text Messages. Tonight, we're sailing into a history lesson grander than your last vacation fantasy. A deep dive into 1830s London, where the Industrial Revolution had just begun to churn out the kind of chaos we can only dream of piecing together with a dash of humor. Imagine standing in the heart of a massive port city, as the heavens above weep greater than a toddler whose toy was unfairly taken. Spoiler, it's not rain, but a delightful drizzle of soot and mystery. And your skin is about to get an unprecedented facial treatment courtesy of the local air quality. Do you remember the last time you attempted to breathe deeply after someone fried fish in the kitchen? Now imagine that, for an entire evening. And that delightful aroma lingers long after you leave. Or have you ever tried to navigate your way through a crowded market after a heavy rain, only to step into a puddle that seems to have its own zip code? That's your Thursday evening joy doubled when every puddle might very well be the spontaneous installation of a mud pit, perfect for your soot-covered boots. Ah, but fear not, brave listener. Tonight, you'll learn about the life of the good people of London, who exist in a world where surviving a single night means dodging not just horse-drawn carriages, but also debating if that splatter on your jacket was rain or something else entirely. Grab your snazziest blanket, switch on that gentle fan, although it really won't help much, and prepare to drift into a world that makes modern living look like a walk in the park, complete with snacks. Congratulations, you've just woken up in 1830, surrounded by the splendors of London's industrial waterfront, where the air is so thick with the scent of fish and something incredibly unidentifiable, you might as well be at a seafood buffet designed by an avant-garde chef suffering from existential dread. Picture this with me. A sprawling vista of tall ships lining the harbor, their wooden masts jabbing into the gray sky like a toddler wielding a crayon far too enthusiastically. The sound of crashing waves mingles with the enthusiastic and somewhat aggressive shouting of sailors more spirited than a football team after an accidental victory. Let's talk about bathing. Spoiler alert, most people here would consider a wash a sophisticated luxury akin to winning the lottery. The only thing you'll find in these parts are fervent showers of rain and the inevitable cloud of steam wafting off the nearby fish market as it attempts to keep whatever remains of its dignity. In true industrial style, the concept of personal hygiene is merely a suggestion rather than an actual practice. Many would rather risk an encounter with a moody whale than face a lather of soap and water. Now, imagine walking down the docks where the ground squelches beneath your feet with the enthusiasm of a million tiny, disgruntled slugs. Each step is an aquatic adventure. Maybe you'll navigate a puddle the local seagulls have deemed a personal spa. "Oh, darling, don't mind me, just enjoying my foot bath," is the kind of cheeky commentary you can expect from the local wildlife, who are no doubt laughing at your attempts to remain upright. As you stumble past the massive stone warehouses decorated with heavy iron doors that groan in eternal protest, listen carefully. Can you hear the sound of goods, most likely rusty nails and perhaps an unfortunate cow being unloaded with all the precision of a one-eyed, blindfolded circus performer? Each crash echoes with stories of poor choices made by those who dared to work at dawn, dreaming of a hearty breakfast that may or may not consist of 3-day-old bread and a reason to complain. And speaking of weaknesses, it's time for breakfast. Bad idea. Unless you think cold porridge cooked with a splash of yesterday's fish guts sounds appealing, you might find that your morning sustenance is less breakfast and more a sad reminder of one's life choices. Ever attempted to sweeten your day by sipping something not entirely unpleasant? Think about it. The last time you felt a mild existential crisis was when you mistook soda for vinegar. It's all harrowing, really. But don't fret just yet. As you make your way to the bustling market nearby, where everyone thinks they are running a high-stakes game of who can sell the most questionable meat without actually causing a riot, you get a taste of the local flair. Vendors shout about their wares with the unbridled enthusiasm of caffeinated squirrels. Step right up, folks. Get your deliciously questionable fish. Not guaranteed to actually be fish, but hey, does anyone know the difference? The banter dances through the air like confetti at a less than exciting parade, while you ponder how on earth one can be both charmed and horrified at the same time. As you munch on some precarious meat, facts optional, you'll spot children zipping through the crowd like tiny maniacs on sugar highs, somehow managing to sell baked goods that inspire as much trust as a cat carrying a kettle. Is it bread or is it a rock? Why not find out, they say, their gleeful faces igniting sentiments of nostalgia for your childhood entrepreneurial dreams that never materialized past selling lemonade. So, as the chaos ebbs and flows like the tide, embrace the absurdity that this was not only surviving, but living. Remember, dear listener, that resilience is often forged in such unexpected neighborhoods as this, where humor blooms amidst the muck and ambition frolics through the thick, iron air. If nothing else, you now know what it truly means to live history, slightly dazed, undeniably soot-laden, and grateful for the wonder of modern plumbing. As you reflect on the extraordinary tales rising from the smoke and salt of the 1830s docks, let yourself dream about less questionable breakfasts, cleaner air, and showers that don't double as liquid mystery. And just beyond the greasy stalls, isn't the heart of survival truly a mix of mischief and mayhem waiting to be explored? They hadn't seen it all yet, but you certainly have, in a world thicker than a Sunday morning smoothie and almost as nutritious as a biscuit left out for too long. Chapter 14: The Great Gate of Hope and Desperation. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of History is Funnier Than Your Ex's Text Messages. Tonight, we're diving headfirst into a scene more saturated with aspiration and anxiety than your last job interview. A rather boisterous morning in the 1830s, right outside the towering iron gates of the London docks. This is a world where hope and desperation hang in the air like the aroma of last week's fish left to bake in the sunshine. So strap in for a journey where every choice might just lead you to work, or a rather unfortunate encounter with the local seagull population. Now, have you ever stood in line for a concert ticket, only to realize you'd rather gnaw off your foot than deal with the anxious energy surrounding you? Picture that, but swap excited music fans with hundreds of rugged gentlemen in flat caps, huddled together like a flock of nervous penguins, each hoping today is the day they get chosen for work, instead of being metaphorically tossed back into the sea of unemployment. Ever wondered what that moment feels like, when you keep checking your phone for notifications, only to realize it's just your socks telling you they're not getting any fresher? Ah, the trials of anticipation. Congratulations! You've just woken up in 1830 at a bustling dock where the air brims with the scent of adventure. Or maybe it's just the combination of sweat, fish guts, and industrial grit. Either way, you're standing outside a grand iron gate that looks like it was specifically designed to keep both hopeful laborers and wandering cats from fleeing the trauma of the daily grind. Imagine the scene. Over 100 men, with faces lined like maps of unfulfilled dreams, waiting with bated breath. These gents aren't just waiting, they're doing a peculiar communal dance of sorts, a twisted mashup of optimism and dread that can only be described as the unfortunate shuffle. Each man is dressed in heavy jackets that have seen better days, their flat caps sitting precariously atop heads filled with dreams bigger than their empty stomachs. All manner of pensive looks adorn their faces, ranging from the "I really hope today's the day" to the "At this point, I'd consider being an unpaid intern for a seagull." As you stand there, breathe in that delightful blend of coastal brine and human desperation. Why does the air around you taste like last night's stew cooked over a campfire? No one knows. Perhaps the previous evening's storm blew in a wind that whisked away any last shred of comfort. Or maybe that's just the effect of sharing a space with a group of men who haven't bathed since the Queen took her last crown. Take a moment to soak in the soundscape, the melodic howls of ship horns clashing with the unbearable cacophony of angry seagulls. As you listen, you realize this isn't just background noise, it's an unintentional symphony. The gulls are leading the verses, filling the air with shrill complaints about the ineffectiveness of breadcrumbs, while the sailors occasionally chime in with urgent exclamations that sound suspiciously like grievances over grog. Who knew the dock could double as a vibrant theater of existential angst? And let's not forget the foreman, a fellow who could probably intimidate a bear into giving up its honey stash. A veritable titan looming at the gate, he surveys the crowd as if choosing the next contestants for a reality show called Survivor Industrial Edition. His bellowing voice slices through the crowd. "You lot ever think of becoming civil engineers? No? Good. Now, who wants to risk their limbs working for wages that barely cover last week's bread?" Imagine standing tall, clutching a loaf of day-old bread tightly to your chest, as if it's the holy grail of sustenance. "A bit stale, but beggars can't be choosers," you mumble, suddenly realizing that one man nearby looks eternally poised to battle your very existence for that last crumb. Is it worth holding on to? Perhaps not, but it's the only shred of comfort you have in this bustling quagmire. Among the crowd, you'll find a mysterious character, an old chap with a beard that could easily house several small birds. He's loudly recounting tales of glory days when labor was a trade and employers didn't consider you a stray dog. "Ah, back then I could earn a penny for every shilling, and breakfast didn't consist of regrets," he bellows, earning nods from weary comrades who have given up on the concept of proper morning sustenance. Speaking of sustenance, breakfast isn't just a meal here, it's a philosophical quandary. Ever tried eating a cold potato as if it were an artisanal croissant? Welcome to the 1830s. Here, breakfast options revolve around whatever you can scrounge up or negotiate with your neighbor, preferably through a series of grunts and strategic eye rolls. Picture it. A small group of men surrounding a meager saucepan, debating the merits of yesterday's porridge, while simultaneously dodging a particularly aggressive rat with more ambition than half the crowd. But back to the foreman, who seems to have graduated from a prestigious school of intimidation. Imagine being selected for work among muffled cheers and jealous scowls. You might even receive your assignment with so little ceremony that it feels more like receiving a funeral invitation than a job offer. Picture the men shuffling forward eagerly, wearing expressions that oscillate between desperation and the joyful anticipation usually reserved for a child awaiting Christmas morning. Except, instead of shiny toys, they just seek a hunk of bread and, ideally, a reason to leave the docks with their limbs intact. So, as you stand poised at the iron gates of opportunity, remember, this is not merely surviving. It is living the daily drama of industrious desperation.
A compelling mix that could be sliced straight from the pages of a play by the bard himself, minus the eloquence.
Isn't it delightful to think that history is so layered, yet absurdly relatable? And as we explore the lives of these hopeful souls, equally filled with dreams and a daily longing for mere sustenance, let yourself float adrift on the waves of the past, momentarily silencing your present woes. After all, sometimes the best view is one steeped in a bit of chaos. Sleep tight. Tomorrow's breakfast may be a treat, if someone can just wrestle it away from that cheeky rat. Chapter 15. The Gathering of Broken Noses and Cheesed-Off Seagulls. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of History is Funnier Than Your Ex's Text Messages. Tonight, we're diving into a scene could make even your worst online shopping experience seem like a walk through a sun-dappled park. Strap on your mental life jackets, because we're heading into the depths of the 1830s, specifically, right in the midst of the Industrial Revolution, where the smell of hope mingles with something resembling week-old fish guts. Ever wondered what it feels like to stand in a line where the stakes are so high that your heart races faster than a hamster trying to escape a cat? Oh yes, hope is a fickle mistress, and our protagonists today are clinging to it like a child clutching their last candy before a dentist appointment. So, if you've ever thought about what it's like to stake your breakfast on a handshake or your dignity on an ill-timed sneeze, you're in for a treat. But first, hit that like button. Or maybe subscribe if you've enjoyed lurking here like a non-committal ghost. Now that that's settled, dim those lights, crank your favorite little fan to get that perfect breeze going, and let's transport you through the thick layers of history. Picture this. You've just woken up in 1830, the height of the industrial frenzy. The air is as thick as your great-aunt Margaret's stew and smells suspiciously similar. You find yourself standing in a crowd that resembles a particularly anxious flock of seagulls, minus the grace, of course. Among them is a tall man with a broken nose looking like he just lost a boxing match to a particularly feisty cabbage. Right next to him, an older sailor with more fingers missing than still intact stares fixedly at the gates ahead, as if they're the entrance to a jackpot of riches, or at least a decent loaf of bread. Isn't it funny how, even in desperate times, human spirit flutters around like those tight pants you once wore to an awkward high school dance? What thoughts whirl in their minds? Will I eat well today? Or will I clasp my stomach with a twinge of regret like it's my mean uncle at a family dinner? Let's address the seriousness of it all. The worker's plight resembles a bizarre game show blooper reel where contestants shout things like, "I'll take a piece of bread for 2 bits, Bob." Meanwhile, an annoyed seagull caws overhead, obviously contemplating whether the gathered men would make for better dinner guests than a sad, soggy chip. You can practically hear the fowl's internal monologue. Oh look, another sad human hoping against hope for change. How adorable. As you stand there, the cacophony of shouts, warnings, and the occasional hiss of disgruntled seagulls surrounds you like a bizarre performance art piece titled Desperation at the Docks. Have you ever tried to make sense of a puzzling IKEA instruction manual while 17 seagulls squawk at you? This is on that level. Half the crowd murmurs hopeful prayers, while the foreman, an incredibly intimidating figure with arms that could launch a barrel, culls through faces like a butcher examining livestock, searching for his next laborers. And here's where it gets interesting. Right next to you, the tall man nudges the old sailor, causing him to adjust his patched-up wool sweater against the faint smell of something unidentifiable. "You know," he whispers conspiratorially, "if I'd gotten my hands on a decent pair of gloves instead of these ratty mitts, perhaps I'd grab a job, and not just my last slice of stale bread." "And what will you do with a job? Buy yourself proper pants?" the sailor retorts, a smirk dancing on his weather-beaten face. "You'd lose them before you hit the bakery, my friend. Might as well invest in some fashionable breadcrumbs to wear instead." As the crowd shares these delightful repartees, a gleaming optimism emerges between the slums and labor hours. an infectious sort of camaraderie that, surprisingly, feels delightful. Allow yourself to imagine this oddball community, gripped by the deep-rooted hope of survival and the shared joy of laughter. It's like watching a group of uncoordinated friends trying to make a dance video, awkward but oddly comforting. But let's not gloss over the backdrop of this disheveled opera. Picture the soot-stained buildings looming ominously nearby, tall and grim, like they're judging your entire existence. You hear the creaking of their bones in the wind, akin to a disgruntled old man reminding you that nothing good ever came easy. Oh, and what's that delightful aroma wafting through the air? It's a mix of salt, sweat, and the unmistakably uninviting odor of something fried. Ever had an overcooked fish that tasted as hopeful as this day's labor prospects? If the culinary arts were a contest, the victors would all be long gone, leaving behind only the burnt husks and regrets of meals past, like bad relationships. Meanwhile, you can't help but wonder, what's life like for these sailors once they drift away from this war zone of hands seeking the dwindling coins? Spoiler alert, it features more flour than your last baking attempt and a fair share of unusual seafood encounters. Think of a dodgy seafood restaurant menu brought to life. So, as you stand at the gates, take in the vibrant camaraderie, the anticipatory tension, and yes, the absolute absurdity surrounding you. Perhaps instead of viewing this as a somber moment, you glean a silver lining, a sparkling thread of laughter woven into the fabric of hope, much like those unfortunate sweaters they all wear. And as we pause here, know that soon enough, someone will either find work or a roll of bread will miraculously land on a poor sailor's head. Ah, mayhaps you shall drift off dreaming of industrial-era victories, or, at the very least, successfully, avoiding that cheeky seagull. Chapter 16. A cascading current of misery and humor. Hey guys, if you thought the air in your office was stale and unpleasant, wait until you step into the harbor at Liverpool in the year 1830. Brace yourself for a refreshing breeze that feels more like a wet sock just took a flight through your nostrils, sharp, stinging, and undeniably memorable. Tonight, we're sailing into the heart of the Industrial Revolution, where men sported more soot on their faces than fashion sense, and the seagulls probably had a better grasp of economics than half the population. Before we dive into the delightful chaos that is 19th century maritime life, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Nothing says, "I appreciate history," quite like a click from your cozy bed. Your engagement fuels our comedic tides, so join us, won't you? Only press that button if you're truly enjoying the ride, though. No pressure, unless you count the pressure of despair hanging over the hard-working folks of this industrious age. Now, let's set the scene. Imagine standing on the shores of the River Mersey, where the water is a swirling, murky gray, and the air crisps your nose like a freshly fried sage leaf, only without the comfort of culinary delight. As you catch a whiff of salt and tar mingling with the lingering scent of questionable fish, ask yourself, what's it like huddled in a small wooden boat, a floating metaphor for your hopes and dreams, while battling colossal merchant ships that seem to think your tiny craft is just a minor obstruction in their grand plans? What if you had to make a living by braving the roiling waters as if you were auditioning for a part in Survivor, Doc's Edition? Who needs reality TV when you can dip your toes in the reality of floundering in a fishing skiff like a toddler in a bathtub? And yes, the stakes are just as dramatic. But instead of prizes, you're vying for a decent loaf of bread, or perhaps just avoiding the hungry gaze of passers-by, who continuously size you up as a potential meal. Picture it. You've just woken up, not in a cozy bed, but on a rickety wooden vessel, bobbing up and down in the choppy waters. Confetti of seagull droppings flutters like confetti from a poorly executed party. Welcome to your new reality. You're surrounded by an assortment of characters, the stern captain who looks like he could wrestle a walrus and win, the hapless deckhands whose smiles are practically marinated in despair, and the ever-watchful harbor pigeons that seem to believe they own the place. Let's take a moment to appreciate the riveting daily lives of these hard-working souls. With every passing moment, they're engaged in what could only be described as organized chaos. The boats, a patchwork of humble wooden bits, zigzag between the gargantuan merchant vessels like children dodging traffic in a very narrow schoolyard. But who needs driving lessons when you have sheer determination and a healthy dose of, "I didn't think this far ahead"? Most of these sailors didn't even have proper life jackets. Spoiler alert, wooden crates aren't great flotation devices in a pinch. The air fills with the sounds of creaking wood, raucous, squawking seagulls, and the occasional shout from a sailor flinging a rather regrettable piece of fish back into the water. A culinary memoir gone wrong. And yet, in the midst of this uproar, camaraderie blossoms. Can you picture the banter? "Hey mate, at least your fish got rejected by the ocean, not by my stomach." As laughter punctuates the chaos, you start to feel warmth ripple through even those seasoned joints. Let's not forget the splendid aroma wafting through the chilly air, an impactful concoction of salt, sweat, and the unmistakable scent of something that definitely shouldn't have been cooked in the first place. It's like a sandwich made by your high school cafeteria workers. The bread is stale, the fillings are a beautiful mystery, and the experience could use a serious health inspection. Why bother with fine dining when you've got a bubbling pot of whatever's lying around on your stovetop? Beneath the veneer of fervent toil lies an entire spectrum of half-hearted ambition and dreams of grandeur. So, what's your backup plan if fishing doesn't pan out? Pigeon wrangling? No? Perhaps you'll moonlight as a street performer. If your idea of performance involves tripping over barrels of salt while trying to both wow the crowd and avoid becoming part of someone's stinky dinner. But don't let the minor inconvenience of feeling perpetually damp and mildly exposed snag your spirit. There's plenty of wit floating in the air, like the oft-repeated saying among dock workers, "Keep calm and pretend you know what you're doing." And honestly, that applies to most of life, right? Add a dash of salt to that philosophy, and you might just catch a wave of enlightenment, or at least a decent fish. So, as you stand at this river of high hopes and dubious pathways, realize that there's a unique charm in this industrial symphony. You might not end up with a cozy bed tonight, or even a meal not served with feathers. But hey, there's laughter, there's life, and certainly a fair amount of melodrama waiting to sweep you along the flowing currents of the Mersey. And sometimes, that's enough. After all, if life gives you sour fish, score some vinegar and make yourself a delightful pickles instead. Now, take a breath, ride the waves of history with buoyancy, and rest easy knowing the absurdity is just beginning. Chapter 17. The Cotton Conundrum of 1830. Hey guys, are you ready to travel to a time and place where comfort was about as common as a polite seagull? Get snug in your blankets, because tonight we'll find ourselves amidst the bustling chaos of an industrial slum in the heart of Liverpool, circa 1830. Imagine a world where people had to navigate through streets so crowded they might as well have been practicing for a high-stakes game of human Tetris. Now, picture this. Heavy bales of white cotton and large wooden crates towering above you like some kind of bizarre cotton castle. The scent that hits your nose? It's a blend of wet rope and raw cotton, a smell that might make you wonder if someone forgot to wash the laundry with that trendy fabric softener. Spoiler alert, they definitely did. Before we dive into the joy of cotton logistics, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because nothing says, "I love learning about history," quite like a good old click while curled up in your favorite pajamas. But only do it if you're genuinely enjoying this cozy adventure. No pressure. We wouldn't want you to break a sweat, not in this unflattering portrait of industrial life. Now, take a moment to ponder. How would you handle a day packed so tightly with people that getting personal space would require a strategic game plan? Could you picture yourself shouting, "Excuse me," at a cart loaded higher than your hopes? only to be ignored while you reconsider your entire life choices right there in a crowded slum? Or imagine finding a quiet corner to catch your breath, but instead you end up face to face with a pigeon that looks like it has seen some things, and suddenly it's judging you harder than your last Tinder date. Congratulations, you've just woken up in 1830, smack dab in the middle of one of the world's bustling industrial hubs. You roll out of a lumpy straw mattress that never really learned the concept of comfort and look
Around at your comrades. Men scrubbing their faces with the kind of grit residents of upscale neighborhoods would pay to avoid, while women wield cotton with the dexterity of seasoned jugglers. Yes, welcome to your new morning ritual. Wake up, panic, and step outside into a scene that looks like it was painted by someone with a flair for the grotesque, all in sepia tones. Let's take a stroll through the wharves. The stone surfaces are slick and uneven, much like your attempts at being organized in life. With crates marked from exotic lands, America, the Caribbean, it feels like you've wandered onto a rather ill-conceived episode of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? The atmosphere is so heavy with the smell of dampness that you half expect someone to offer you a scented candle called Rainy Days and Despair. The sound of creaking wood resonates like an orchestra warming up for a chaotic performance. The rattle of carts, the grunts of dock workers, and the Squawking of gulls refusing to mind their own business. The gulls, of course, probably had a better understanding of cargo logistics than half of the people scuttling around like ants on a sugar trail. But let's be real. Any self-respecting historian knows that the bigger the load, the more chaotic the scene, especially when the rules aren't quite clear. Think about it. When was the last time your Uber Eats order arrived without a bit of dramatic flair? Here, at least, no one is abandoning the delivery because they couldn't find a parking spot. And while you're journeying through this bustling chaos, your nose captures the essence of industrial optimism, which, I assure you, smells a lot like burnt toast and a hint of faint desperation. Yes, behind the piles of meticulously marked crates, folks are toiling away with less enthusiasm than a child forced to eat spinach. Worry not, though. Every so often, a passerby cheerfully exclaims, "At least we're not in the coal mines."
True, but when you're balanced precariously on a crate while dodging hay bales as if in some terrible obstacle course, it does make you rethink your life choices and your breakfast options. Speaking of breakfast, a question ripples through the dockside gossip. What would they serve? Perhaps the most questionable gruel in town, watered-down oatmeal meant to inspire a dream of culinary excellence, but instead, you're left yearning for a scone that'll never arrive. Remember, when you've got a dinner option that's less gourmet and more grotesque, good luck avoiding that gap-toothed friend who's never shy about sharing her thoughts on the matter. And don't get me started on the ambitious conversations that float through the air like a gentle breeze, or rather a gust of cotton-scented chaos. Did you hear Bob went bankrupt trying to sell honeydew to the gentry? Oh yes, because it makes perfect sense to invest in fruit that's about as useful as a boat with holes. So here we are, living in a world where your dreams might be as heavy as the textiles lugged around by weary workers. But don't despair, even in the darkness, there's laughter floating through the grime. As you trudge through the chilly day, remember, living in the industrial slum may not depict a hallmark of success, but isn't it a shareable meme just waiting to happen? And with that, dear friend, you now find yourself amidst the cotton conundrum of 1830s Liverpool. As the sun dips below the horizon and your body clings to the thought of a warm, dry bed, knowing this ridiculous journey unveils stories worth sharing, even if they are steeped in a peculiar kind of absurdity. Chapter 18. The Tall Tale of Treading the Deck. Hey guys, tonight we're diving deep into something eerier than your Uncle Bob's fishing stories, the chaotic life aboard a merchant ship in 1830. Picture this. You're standing at the foot of a towering wooden ladder, unsure if you're about to conquer your personal Everest or just become a floating metaphor for bad decisions. Spoiler alert, it's probably the latter. Before we embark on this nautical nonsense, If you're enjoying this exploration through history's hilariously rocky waves, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe. I mean, why not celebrate mildly interesting history with about the same enthusiasm as stepping on a Lego? But only if you genuinely appreciate it, a worry-free commitment, like a promise to eat just one potato chip. Now, pull those blankets a little tighter around your fuzzy toes and dim the lights, because we're about to set sail on a journey through deck-sweeping absurdity. But first, let me conjure up a few delightful images in your mind. Have you ever slipped on a freshly waxed floor and wondered if you were trying to impress the ghost of a ballerina? What about those moments when the stakes are higher? In this case, climbing a rickety ladder to avoid becoming fish food. Or perhaps you have dreamt of navigating through crowds as dense as your last family gathering while trying to maintain that fragile hope not to lose your footing. Congratulations! You've just woken up on a merchant ship in 1830, perched above the tumultuous waves, gripping onto a ladder like it's your last hope of not plummeting into the churning depths below. As you hoist yourself up the rough-hewn rungs, imagine the wooden structure creaking and groaning with every movement, each sound a staff member in the symphony of your nautical nightmare. The smell? Think of a blend between damp wood, salt water, and the latest batch of regret. You can practically taste the brine filling your senses as you dodge the swaths of sailors shouting colorful curses that make even your high school drama club look like a prayer meeting. If you think public speaking is challenging, try navigating a ship filled with grumpy men. Finally, you reach the deck. Congratulations, Captain Chaos. Take a look around. The sky above is painted in hues that could only be described as tourist brochure blue, while the harbor below churns like a toddler scorned by a snack shortage. And right there on the water, you see big, honking merchant ships like yours, jostling for elbow room, seemingly in a persistent debate over which one is worse at parallel parking. Can you hear it? The chorus of wind-filled sails flapping against the mast. It's like nature's way of providing commentary on your skills as a climber. The clang of metal sloshes around like a raging opera, with the crew scrambling around like a bunch of caffeinated octopuses trying to multitask, untangling ropes, adjusting sails, and battling existential crises all at the same time. As you step onto the deck, you swish through spilled fish guts from the last catch, which, by the way, were nearly as lively as the conversations happening around you. Did you hear about old Timmy? He thought he saw a mermaid, but it was just a seal. And now he won't stop singing. Welcome aboard, where sea monsters and shenanigans are the order of the day. The crew itself is a delightful mix of characters, like a poorly cast Netflix show. There's a first mate with a beard so bushy you half expect a bird to go nesting in it, and a cook who claims his specialty is salted mystery meat. Sounds appetizing, doesn't it? You might even feel yourself empathizing with those sailors who, for lack of better options, have mastered the art of cooking things that vaguely resemble food. While struggles abound on deck, let's not forget the ever-present threat of the ship itself, rocking and rolling beneath you. Every wave that bounces off the hull is a bit like your aunt's unsolicited dating advice. Inevitable, loud, and sometimes downright dizzying. As you hold on to the railing, you can contemplate the profound life decisions that led you to this slippery moment. Was it worth sacrificing that cozy pub for an open ocean and the potential for sea shanties? And trust me, if you haven't succumbed to seasickness yet, you might want to turn your attention to the horizon. Some sailors swear that it's the ideal spot to gaze and ponder life's deeper meanings, like why the captain insists on wearing that ridiculous hat that looks suspiciously like a pot. In this chaotic sea of men, each one more colorful than the last, you may just find yourself captivated by a compelling debate about the best type of biscuit to dunk in tea. Spoiler, it's definitely not the hardtack they serve here. So as the sun begins to set, don't let yourself get swept away in the chaos of gulls squawking, or the pervasive
scent of fish that would make anyone reconsider their diet. Embrace the irony, revel in the absurdity, because navigating maritime life in 1830 may not be your first choice for a weekend getaway, but it sure is a wildly interesting plunge into history's comedic repertoire. And with that, dear traveler, you find yourself amidst the tall tales on the deck of a clattering ship. While the waves swirl below you and sailors exchange tales thicker than the fog settling in, drift off, knowing that even amidst chaos, there's laughter floating atop the waves. Just remember, whenever you feel overwhelmed this week, spare a thought for those merry mariners from yesteryear, leaning over their side of the ship, clinging to hilarity amid the madness. Rest easy. The waves might rock you to sleep better than any bedtime story. Chapter 19. Shadows of the Hold, a Cotton Conundrum. Hey guys, tonight we're taking a plunge into a world that smells like a cotton field's angry cousin. Welcome to the cramped, shadowy cargo hold of a merchant ship in 1830. Yes, you heard that right, folks. If you've ever wondered what it's like to be smothered by bales of cotton while praying for a decent air freshener, you're in for a treat thicker than your Aunt Gertrude's holiday casserole. Before we sail into this nautical nonsense, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe. Seriously, it helps our tiny boat paddle through the rough seas of YouTube. But only if you genuinely enjoy this, no pressure, just like your favorite couch that's seen better days. Now, snuggle into those blankets like they're life vests and dim the lights, unless you enjoy creating your own eerie horror film ambiance. You might as well settle in for a cozy ride aboard this floating fortress of aromatic confusion. 1. Have you ever stepped into a space and thought, ah yes, this is exactly how I want my lungs to feel, like a cotton cloud mixed with a hint of despair? And what about the question of personal space? Wouldn't it be delightful to navigate paths so narrow that you question which side of the ship holds more social awkwardness, yours or the bales of cotton? Spoiler, it's definitely the cotton. Congratulations! You've just woken up in the year 1830, trapped within the bustling belly of a merchant ship, where the cargo hold is the stage for a rather absurd performance of survival and sensory overload. Picture it. Low ceilings choked with dusty air, flickering lanterns casting shadows that dance like they've had one too many rum cocktails. A cozy concert of creaks and groans from the ship's wooden frame is your ever-present soundtrack, underscoring every awkward shuffle and questionable decision made in this cramped boudoir of cotton and confinement. As you gander around, your eyes adjust to this dim universe, and you realize you're not alone. No, you've got neighbors. Dust bunnies the size of small mammals float lazily past, and amidst the towering bales of cotton that reach sky high, there's a delightful assortment of sailors trying to navigate through narrow paths like they're attempting a particularly challenging game of human Tetris. Let's be real. Stepping over a bale of cotton while trying not to topple like a domino is a true test of athleticism, or at the very least, coordination. It's like trying to sneak past a family member at a buffet without being spotted, except the stakes are higher, and the fishy scent from earlier still lingers in the air. What are these sailors doing in this lofty cotton castle, you wonder? Are they plotting a grand escape? Discussing the latest gossip about the captain, who insists on wearing a hat resembling an oversized teapot? Good questions. Perhaps they're merely trying to figure out how to get their daily ration of hardtack. If you think that sounds like some sort of medieval torture device, you'd be right. It's an unchewable, tasteless brick that could be both breakfast and a high-stakes weapon in a food fight. And oh, the scents. It's a blend of cotton, sweat, and the faint, acrid remnants of sour rum. You think you're prepared for the delight of this sensory overload, but it hits you like a damp sock in the face. Is the hold a floating treasure trove of adventure? Or is it simply punishment for overeating at the last voyage's meal?
Spoiler alert, it's both. Let's take a moment to picture your average day in this cotton-clad tomb. The first order of business would probably involve maneuvering through the heavy bales like a contestant on a very low-budget obstacle course. You're dodging sewing needles, discarded rum bottles, and every sailor's attempt to retain their dignity as they stumble through what might as well be a textile jungle. "Keep your foot on a cotton bale and the other on the ship," the captain would announce, resembling a motivational speaker who's had one too many cups of that questionable morning coffee. You squint into the shadows as the sounds of distant laughter intermingle with the creaking ship's movements. Where's the best spot to hide from the inevitable overflow of unfortunate smells? Is there a comfy cotton corner designed specifically for moments of existential dread? As you ponder these pressing questions, you may also seriously contemplate the absurdity of working hours in this vast, bumpy dungeon. There's no sunlight here, just the dim glow of lanterns that flicker like nature's cruel joke. Time becomes a memory of sorts. Hey, is it lunchtime already? Or are we still theoretically in yesterday? You'd muse anxiously while contemplating the very real risk of your hardtack crumbling into oblivion at the mere thought of chewing. And so, amidst the towering cotton bales and fatigue-soaked sailors, you realize that the mundane behavior in this hold is reminiscent of any modern-day cramped office space. You've got the chatty coworker at the end who will ask you to help with an Excel sheet, the one who eats all the snacks, and the relentless pursuit of finding a decent bathroom. Oh, but beware the dreaded hold's restroom location. It's a euphemism stronger than your Uncle Jim's tales of fishing prowess. So, as the ship sways gently like a languid sloth in a hammock, know this: life within the confines of the cargo hold may seem grim, but there's humor lodged in every corner and bales of cotton begging for a punchline. Lean back, allow the absurdity to wash over you, and drift off to sleep knowing that hidden amidst life's tangled cotton threads lie the mysteries of human endurance, laughter, and the pursuit of snacks. Rest easy, dear sailor. May your dreams be as buoyant as the swell of the sea around you, and may your laughter echo like the jolly shouts of sailors disputing the merits of hardtack against life's great unknowns. Chapter 20. Hooked on Cotton, a Laborer's Tale. Hey guys, tonight we're diving into something heavier than your high school gym teacher's expectations. The life of an 1830s industrial laborer working amidst the clamor and chaos of a cotton mill. If you've ever wished for a workout plan that involved more sweat than a sauna during a heat wave, then settle in, because we're about to transport you right into the bustling heart of an industrial slum. The best part? You don't have to do a single squat. Before we grapple with heavy cotton bales and sweaty labor, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe. Seriously, it helps keep our little propaganda ship afloat. Well, without the risk of capsizing. But only if you actually enjoy the ride, of course. Now, dim those lights like you're prepping for a cozy evening in a cave, because that's basically what working in an industrial slum feels like. And snuggle up tight because, let's face it, you're going to need all the warmth you can get while we explore a world where your sweat becomes the main ingredient in a nasty soup of despair. Picture this. How did it feel to wrestle with bales of cotton that seemed intent on taking you down? Did anyone ever try to snag a cheeky little snack between shifts? Or was the hardtack just too soul-crushingly vile to consider? And what about personal hygiene in a place where soap was as rare as a clean shirt on a Monday morning? Spoiler alert, the answer is a resounding yikes. Congratulations, you've just woken up next to a pile of cotton bales in an industrial slum, where the air is thick enough to cut and probably contains more dust than a haunted attic. You squint in the dim light, inhaling an aroma that's an unfortunate mix of sweat, cotton fluff, and something faintly resembling ambition, slowly choking on its own fumes. As you stretch your limbs, the reality dawns upon you that today is not going to be a walk in the park. No, my friend. Today, you are a laborer, bereft of the joys of Wi-Fi, personal space, and the luxury of deciding if you want almond milk in your coffee. Instead, you are gripped by what can only be described as industrial insanity. Let's talk about your immediate reality. As you scan the room, you see fellow laborers, each powering through cotton bales like they're wrestling with particularly stubborn house guests. With hands bandaged in cloth and faces smeared with soot, they shuffle about in a dance that resembles a low-budget rave where no one signed up for the DJ battle. Somehow, they lug those monstrous bales across the grimy floor like medieval knights defending against a dragon that breathes unseasoned hardtack. Ah, the elegance of labor. Now, grab a hook, because you have a heavy cotton bale to contend with. That's right, a sharp metal hook that looks more weapon than tool, since it can easily turn into a scene from an action movie if you're not careful. With your muscles straining and sweat beads trickling down your brow, you start the epic tugging war against this pile of fluff. Imagine the sound: schlup, thud. The noises of fabric wrestling mimic the confidence of a cat trying to dislodge a hairball while keeping its dignity intact. With each pull of that heavy bale, you might pause and wonder if labor in a cotton mill is what your grandma meant by hard work builds character. Well, spoiler alert, character is genuinely built when the fabric feels like it's trying to eat your limbs. You huff and puff like a tea kettle on the brink of boiling over, and the bales seem to have a sixth sense for when you're at your weakest. Each step back to your starting point feels like hiking the Himalayas, only with more sweat and fewer photos for Instagram. What's next? A sweet reward at the end of your shift? Not quite. Instead, you're met with what we daintily term hardtack. If you've never seen hardtack, imagine a brick that somehow failed every baking venture. And yes, it might survive a nuclear apocalypse. "Dinner served," shouts your grumpy foreman, probably while grinning like he's just won a coupon for a free sad sandwich. As you chew through your hardtack, you may also find yourself pondering the delightful matters of personal hygiene. Spoiler alert, it's not a thing. So every time you attempt to wipe the sweat from your brow, congratulations, you just turned your hand into an industrial grease trap. And the way you smell? Let's just say perfume isn't an option. It's a constant battle of trying not to lose consciousness every time you inhale. Although you might feel like a medieval version of a downtown office worker, replete with wires and potential existential crises, indulging in absurdly rigorous cotton-laden workouts comes with its fair share of humor tucked inside. Remember the emotional support you get from your morning coffee? Well, here, it's replaced with some strained laughter over how sweat mixed with cotton might just be the form of self-expression no one asked for. As day rolls into night, with each exhausting haul of those contentious cotton bales, just remember that life at the mill seemed a lot like being stuck on a treadmill with no escape, surrounded by folks who share your plight and questionable odors. But as you rest your weary head tonight, may your dreams contain less cotton and more fabulous adventures where your sweat no longer doubles as a seasoning. So as you turn in, probably sifting through visions of cotton clouds, know you've conquered your night at the mill with a fierce spirit. And remember, amidst the sweat and toil, laughter is but a thread away. Rest easy, weary laborer. May your dreams be as fluffy as those cotton bales, and filled with all the snacks you can't have during your workday. Next time, we'll unearth the wild world of industrial filth, and maybe, just maybe, discover if snack breaks are even a dream worth chasing. Stay tuned, because it only gets odder from here. Chapter 21, The Clanging of Time, Life on the Docks. Hey guys, tonight we're diving into something shinier than your uncle's collection of vintage beer cans. The life of an 1830s industrial worker amidst the clang, clatter, and barely contained chaos of the docks. If you've ever wondered what it would be like to juggle more responsibilities than a circus clown on a unicycle, while simultaneously battling the olfactory offense of 100 fish markets, then get cozy. Spoiler, also no Wi-Fi. But before we cast you off into this sea of steel and sweat, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's not just for goodwill, but to keep our little history vessel afloat, sailing conveniently far from the realms of sheer boredom. But only if you enjoy the trip, of course. Now, dim those lights like you're sneakily hiding a midnight snack stash, because tonight we'll transport you back to a time when the term self-care meant not getting run over by a cart on your way home. Let's grab your imagination, and before we plunge into this watery adventure, ponder this. If you were an industrial worker, would you risk smelling like fish or like the remnants of last month's lunch? How many times could you dodge a heavy crane without getting squished? Do you think you'd become a master of balance, or would you end up taking an unplanned swim in the icy harbor? Congratulations! You've just woken up in 1830, right on the bustling docks of a city crazily revving up for the Industrial Revolution. The air is filled with the sharp, briny aroma of the sea, alarmingly mixed with the other, less pleasant scents that come from an industrial slum. A heavy iron bell rings out from the tall spire of a nearby church, deep and resonant, signifying the hours slipping by for the hundreds of workers like you who are preparing for another grueling day. It's as if every clang and chime is a personal taunt. You still haven't found your sardine sandwich, have you? As you rise and shake off the lingering fog of dreams, and possibly nightmares, your senses are overwhelmed. You hear the distant shouting of dock hands and the deafening noises of cranes as they complain through laborious groans. The feeling of sweat clinging to your back is only outdone by the faint vibrations of your stomach, mourning the absence of breakfast as it gurgles ominously. Let's talk about the workday ahead. You're not just punching a clock, you're putting in hours that would make a modern-day employee consider unionization. Though union, back then, usually meant gathering your friends to lament over a mass of rotting fish. Each corner of the dock is alive with activity. And by alive, I mean it's teeming with more haggard souls than you'd find at a sleep-deprived book club. As you stand amidst all this, look around. Fellow laborers drag heavy carts loaded with freight and lumber that seem to have heavier backstories than any family drama you've ever encountered. It's like being in a reality show where everyone competes for the Most Dramatic Transport Award. Except there are no camera angles, and the only prize is not losing a finger to a rogue crate. And speaking of fingers, you sidle over to a pile of crates that feels unyielding yet somehow surprisingly familiar, like a gym that only offers personal training in agony. With a grunt that resembles a walrus on a diet, you hoist a crate to your chest, battling its obstinacy. You might pause to ponder how anyone thinks bulk means more than just strange food choices and workout routines. At that moment, the crate defines bulk, especially as it starts to crush your hopes and, possibly, your spirit. As you bend to place it on the cart, whoosh, a seagull makes a dive for your lunch sack, an innovative masterpiece of stale bread and whatever that mystery meat is, swiftly buffeted by the wind. In your effort to shoo the feathered marauder, you almost tumble into the harbor, an incident that might just earn you the title of Drench of the Day. Wouldn't it be great if they handed out awards for that? Congratulations! You get to be soggy while others watch. Enjoy the splinters! Suddenly, the bell tolls again, an echoing reminder that time waits for no one, not even for a fishy sandwich pilferer. As the morning drags on, your muscles start to ache in ways that would put an Olympic weightlifters to shame. And don't even get me started on lunch breaks. The local leaflet of the time offers practical advice. Eat hastily and grimace as the preferred dining method. When sitting down might mean getting run over by the new thing called progress. And as you chew on your well-earned hardtack, a treat harder than anything you've probably tackled all day, and trust me, the irony is delicious, you can't help but contemplate your fellow laborers. Did they ever try to find a moment of levity? Did someone confess their secret?
Desire to become a cat instead of spending their days hoisting crates. There's a fleeting moment of camaraderie amidst the back-breaking load as you trade sardonic grins with the dock worker beside you, whose fingers are probably sticking to the tacky remnants of something like fish glue. Never skip breakfast, you joke grimly, or lunch, or dignity. Just as the bell tolls once more, there's an essence of fraternity here, raw and real, even under the grime and grime. Life at the docks demands humor as a survival tactic, and you rise to it, laughing through the sweat and toil, your thoughts flitting between food and freedom. So, as you navigate the chaos of the bustling docks this night, remember, each clang of the bell is merely a reminder that you are alive and kicking, albeit with a slight saltwater twist. May your dreams be filled with sunlight, fresh air, and an endless supply of sandwiches crafted by culinary geniuses, or at least not by those errant seagulls. Tomorrow, who knows what tangled twists of history will beckon. Stay tuned, because the world of mildly interesting antics is just getting started. Chapter 22: The St. Nicholas Spire and the High Art of Dodging Industrial Misery. Hey guys, tonight we're going to gaze upon something more magnificent than an Instagram influencer's filtered vacation photos. The St. Nicholas Church spire, standing sentinel over the industrial landscape of 1830. Imagine it towering above the clamor of a city in the throes of revolution. A fashionable gray, battered by the elements and the passing of time, not unlike your favorite pair of sneakers that really ought to be retired. But before we dip our toes into this historical foam, don't forget to like and subscribe. Think of it as tossing a penny into the wishing well of content creation. A generous act that might just keep this virtual vessel from sinking into the abyss of forgotten channels. Of course, only if you're truly enjoying the ride. Now, dim those lights like you're trying to sneak in a midnight snack without alerting the family dog. We're about to embark on a journey to a world filled with smoke, sweat, and more grit than your aunt's legendary fruitcake. But ask yourself, if you were a citizen of this bustling 1830s industrial slum, how many times would you need to duck under a falling brick before giving up on your dreams of home ownership? Congratulations! You've just woken up in a grimy nook of a burgeoning metropolis where the spire of St. Nicholas looms over you like a judgmental parent. Its golden weathercock gleams defiantly against the backdrop of persistent smog and the dreadful harmonies of industry. A chorus of clanging metal, hissing steam, and the unmistakable scent of something truly foul. The poor church, bless its heart, has witnessed the transformation from peaceful village to bustling behemoth, probably wondering if it should have taken up yoga to cope with the chaos. As you stretch your limbs, a process that feels more akin to untangling a particularly stubborn knot in a piece of string, you can't help but notice how the sun tries to break through the thick blanket of smoke, creating a light show that's more of a meh than a dramatic entrance. The streets are alive with a cacophony that would put most modern-day music festivals to shame, alcohol-induced excitement not included. Just outside your window, you hear a horse-drawn cart that seems to have its own gravitational pull, not so much moving as it is slowly dragging itself through the muck and mire. Ever tried to change your plans when you're literally stuck in the mud? It's like trying to get out of a Netflix binge flat tire scenario. Around you, men and women toil harder than a barista during morning rush hour, their faces smudged with soot and determination. The fashion forward here consists of tattered, worn clothes that smell like a fresh bakery, if that bakery was on fire and filled with hay. The townsfolk walk with an urgency that seems rooted in avoiding fate, slipping on banana peels, stepping in unspecified substances that should be left alone, and dodging the occasional falling cauldron. And oh, the smell. It's a complex bouquet of despair. Wet wood, burnt coal, and just a hint of something that could only be described as historical regret.
Your nose is assaulted with scents so vile that modern problems like trying to find the right scented candle in a home goods store suddenly seem trivial. Ever tried troubleshooting a municipal sewer that decided to quit without any notice? Spoiler, it won't go quietly. Let's talk meals for a second. If you were expecting a fine dining experience, think again. Your regular diet might consist of more starchy concoctions than your grandmother's attempt at an edible Thanksgiving dinner. You might be chewing on something you're desperate for a name for, something that could generously be called bread if it wasn't more akin to a culinary penance. On a particularly adventurous day, you might find yourself in line for breakfast, eyeing what could only be described as a mystery food. What is it? You can only hope you'll wake up to the good stuff tomorrow. Did anyone say hazard pay? Try breakfast pay. Round 1. Surviving another day in a living history museum of exertion. But this isn't just about surviving. It's about thriving amidst chaos. Surrounded by the clamor of industry, some ingenious locals have figured out how to create a form of entertainment. How to avoid getting smushed by a rogue crane. Representing the Best of Luck committee, you strategize your movements like a game of chess. One wrong step, and you're toast. Or worse, instant urban legend material. Waking up to find an engraving of your unfortunate end on a fish market's wall? Here lies an idiot who thought he could outrun reality. As you pause to catch your breath, a flock of pigeons takes flight, adding some unintentional drama to your morning. Their wings beat against the air, reminding you that nature too has issues with the industrial pace of life. You can almost hear them having a group therapy session. I'm just trying to find a crumb here, guys, and it's particularly tough around these smokestacks. But let's get real about the stellar view of St. Nicholas. Armed with the rich history of an eavesdropper at family dinner time, the spire watches you all through its proud weathercock that spins to symbolize fortune blowing in whatever direction it pleases. The stone is leeching time, standing there while keeping a perpetual count of mere mortals below, who go about their business like extras in a poorly scripted performance. As you conclude this slice of life in 1830s industrial Europe, take comfort in knowing that even amidst grime and chaos, the laughter of your fellow workers bounces off the bricked walls. Life may be an unfunny comedy that occasionally feels scripted, but you've got the spire as a steadfast reminder that history is here to tick away, reminding us to keep our heads up, dodge the falls, and hope for a cleaner tomorrow. For as long as the spire stands, life continues, and tomorrow's adventures await. So as you drift off tonight, let dreams of soaring over city skylines and dodging raindrops wash over you. Douse the candles and tuck into those hopefully slightly cleaner sheets, because there's more history waiting around the corner, and it might just be mildly interesting. Perhaps even hilariously so. Chapter 23. Steam Dreams and the Clanking Cha-ching of Industry. Hey guys! Tonight, we're going to chug along like a slightly overwhelmed steam engine as we explore something louder than your neighbor's yard work on a Saturday morning, the steam locomotives of 1830. That's right. Imagine a machine that sounds like a giant vacuum cleaner on steroids, belching out clouds of steam so massive you'd think it was auditioning for a role in a soap opera titled As the Boiler Turns. Before we pull the lever and take off down this historical track, remember to like and subscribe. Think of it as your way of saying, hey, I enjoy mildly interesting history and the occasional ridiculous metaphor. But only if you actually enjoy this, of course. Now, dim those lights like you're hiding a secret stash of snacks from your midnight snack police and get cozy. We're about to activate your imagination and let it roll down the line of time. Picture yourself now. If you were a humble citizen of this steam-driven revolution, how would you cope with the sudden appearance of the world's first trains? Would you try to hop on for a joyride, only to discover you definitely weren't ready for that level of speed? Or would you take one look at it, shrug, and decide a leisurely stroll around the slum was more to your liking? Congratulations, you've just woken up in the smoky embrace of a burgeoning industrial city. Steam whistles and the rhythmic clanking of metal greet your ears like an angry toddler in a toy store. This magnificent new steam locomotive rumbles along a nearby railway track, releasing a cloud of white steam so fuzzy it could double as a pillow in your dreams. If only it weren't so filled with the greasy reminders of the working-class lives sacrificed for progress. Let's talk about that locomotive for a moment. It shines with black polish, making the metal gleam like a freshly buffed shoe, while its wheels thud down the track, sounding out. A beat that would make a marching band proud. Imagine those wheels clanking and echoing in the distance, each rhythmically mixed blow another heartbeat pulsing through your industrious city. It's as if every turn whispers, "Welcome to the future. Just kidding. Hope you like the noise." As the cloud of steam dissipates into the gnarly urban air, you catch a whiff of something that would challenge even the sturdiest of sinuses. A bouquet of burnt coal, wet dog, and a layer of soot that could be classified as a new fashion statement. Seriously, if black were a color of choice, the inhabitants here would be trendsetters at a funeral. Do you remember the days when a train ride was a luxury wrapped in comfort? Well, here, it's an experience akin to riding in a roller coaster built by a DIY enthusiast who probably flunked engineering. Traveling by steam train involves sitting on benches so hard, you'll swear they're auditioning for a side role in a medieval torture chamber. So, buckle up your britches. It's going to be a bumpy ride, both literally and metaphorically. But in the spirit of good old historical irony, you can't help but admire how far we've come. Today, getting comfortable on a train means navigating beds so plush it feels like you're seated on a cloud. While back then, it felt like being thrown into the world's most intense game of musical chairs. Ever try catching your breath while dodging the occasional flailing arm as someone struggles to maintain balance on a bumpy car ride? Well, multiply that chaos by 4, and before you know it, you're reenacting an ill-performing interpretive dance dedicated to avoiding serious physical injury. As the locomotive speeds past, you overhear the raucous laughter of workers desperately trying to keep pace with the changing tides. They toil away, faces smudged with soot, perhaps reminiscing about a time when horse-drawn carts were the epitome of progress. You can almost picture them assuring each other, "Don't worry, we definitely won't get run over. Only lightly knocked about in the grand scheme of the industrial zeitgeist." Life in this burgeoning metropolis isn't just about dodging trains. No, let's dig deeper. In this chaotic blend of heady optimism and gritty reality, you might find yourself standing in a bustling marketplace, eyeing a blanket of enticing yet slightly suspicious fried dough. The vendors are shouting, peddling wares that could either be gourmet pastries or culinary roulette. Open your wallet wisely. There's no guarantee anything's coming out alive. But worries about dinner can wait. We need to get back to those gargantuan steam engines and their chaotic klaxon sounds. Every day, as they load up on coal and iron, their sheer girth serves as a reminder that the world is rapidly evolving. You may even wonder how life ever revolved around mere horsepower. Stepping in front of that train could easily transform your fitness plan into an existential crisis. Ever tried to convince fellow commuters you play dodgeball in your spare time? Well, in this era, you'll be mastering the art of train watch dodgeball, and the competition's coming at you hard. With each clank and whir of the locomotive, you realize that while these machines might promise speed and innovation, the workers still endure more hazards than a toddler in a candy store. Navigating through this landscape is like playing hopscotch across a minefield. One small slip, and you could suddenly find yourself in a lasting partnership with the muddy underbelly of the earth. But amidst the rising smoke, the laughter of progress rings true. Locomotives might be the new stars of your life's variety show, and rather than fearing the chaos, maybe it's time to dance along to this peculiar new rhythm. So as the steam spreads into your dreams tonight, let it remind you of resilience and raucous laughter echoing through the fog of history. Because life's a tough ride,
sometimes requiring the grit to laugh at your own misadventures, especially when you wake up the next morning in the industrial fog, dodging dreams and train whistles alike. Sleep well, dear traveler, for the tracks are laid, and tomorrow is a new day filled with mildly more interesting history just waiting to be explored. Chapter 24. Faces in the Fog, Industrial Haunts, and Where to Find Them. Hey guys, tonight we're diving into a world more cramped than your cousin's second-best metaverse experience. A foggy evening in an 1830 industrial slum. Imagine a place where the air is so thick you could probably cut it with a butter knife. If you ever wondered how our ancestors survived while simultaneously trying to breathe in a low-budget smoke machine, you're in for a treat. Before we wade through the fumes of history together, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, only if you genuinely enjoy this bizarre journey through time. Think of it as your way of giving a gentle nod to the ghosts of history, saying, "Hey, I appreciate your struggles," sorta. Now, dim those lights like you're trying to hide from the judgmental glare of your houseplants and settle in. We're about to embark on a narrative ride through misery and laughter. Have you ever thought about what it would be like to navigate a world where gas lamps sputter like toddlers learning to blow out birthday candles? Or pondered whether you'd actually survive a night in a place so industrialized that even the rats looked like they were on a caffeine high? Congratulations, you've just woken up in the murky embrace of 1830, right in the heart of a bustling industrial slum. Look around. What do you see? A sea of faces obscured by the thick evening fog, shimmering with a golden hue from gas lamps. As you squint, it appears these figures are moving like spectral shadows, mimicking your old gym buddies when they try to pump up their non-existent muscles. Let's talk about the atmosphere. The evening fog rolls in from the river, curling around the buildings like it's auditioning for a role in a haunted manor theater production. The gas lamps, casting a dim orange glow, seem to whisper secrets from a time when Netflix and chill meant watching your neighbor race a horse while casually wondering what the burnt toast smell was. In the damp chill of the night, every exhale is more visible than a toddler's temper tantrum. It's as if each breath leaves behind a ghostly whisper, floating through the alleyways with a confidence usually reserved for seagulls fighting over a potato chip. Speaking of potato chips, that might be the one thing missing from this atmosphere. Instead, the scent you catch on the breeze? Let's just say it's a unique blend of burnt coal, wet dog, and life decisions that, if bottled, could surely win awards for creative olfactory insults. You, yes, you, are now not just a spectator, but a participant in this grim spectacle. Can you hear the sounds of laborers returning from a long day? Their laughter mingles with the mechanical clanking of machinery, a symphony that sounds oddly like a malfunctioning robot trying to breakdance. Each thud and clang is a rhythmic reminder echoing the promise of progress, accompanied by the subtle notes of regret for a simpler time. The streets are filled with folks casually attempting to dodge puddles that may or may not be hiding the local rats, whose buoyancy rivals the Olympic swimmers of the day. You might think dodging squirrels in modern life is a challenge. Try navigating streets rife with both puddles and the occasional stray horse, whose expectations of personal space certainly overshadow your own. As you meander through the marketplace, the vendors hawk fried dough in a way that would make even the most enthusiastic food critic weep with confusion and glee. Their sales pitches would put modern car dealerships to shame. Buy one, get one free. Unless you drop it on the ground, then it's an extra charge for floor flavor. The least you can do is hope for a clean bite. Fingers crossed, everyone. But wait, it's time for a quick diversion. Let's talk about living conditions. Homes here tend to be what you could politely describe as character-rich, constructed from materials that had their fair share of unfortunate decisions: wattle, daub, and whatever else fell off the back of the last wagon that passed. They are a little less quaint cottage in the woods, and a lot more gentrification could never.
picture walls that clearly say, "I've lived through worse." The floors? Oh, they're a delightful surprise of packed dirt, lovingly trampled down by wayward feet faster than you can say, "indoor gardening." Should you drop anything, say a shiny new coin, forget finding it. It's now part of the floor's charming ecosystem of mystery and potential foot disease. You know, just like a hotel lobby that hasn't seen a vacuum since the last century. And if you thought that sleeping conditions couldn't get any more creative, think again. You're not merely finding your way to a bed, you're settling in for a night on straw stuffed into a frame that could double as a trampoline. Luxury? Never heard of it. If you happen to wake up with the ferret nestled against your leg, congratulations. It may have simply claimed your prime sleeping real estate. As you lay your head down, the night air thickens with sounds that feel like eerie lullabies. Creaky floors, subdued whispers, and the occasional sputter of a gas lamp fading into an unwelcome darkness. But perhaps it's oddly comforting, much like your fear of calling your last ex to discuss why you should get back together. So you see, dear dreamer, this realm of industrial struggle seems quite ridiculous at first glance. Yet, somewhere beneath the clutter of soot and sweat, there is humor. Lean into the oddities and embrace the chaos, for even the industrial fog has stories to tell. Sleep tight, for tomorrow holds the promise of more mildly interesting history, lyricized in the refreshing scent of coal and absurdity. Don't forget to avoid those ferrets, no matter how tempting they look, okay? How tempting they look. Chapter 25. Slumbering on Straw. A Night in an Industrial Cellar. Hey guys, are you ready to embark on a journey more restful than that time you finally fell asleep during a boring Zoom meeting? Tonight, we're curling up inside an 1830 industrial slum, where dreams are as scarce as a cup of coffee in a peasantry meeting, and where the concept of rest comes bundled with a complimentary toe stubbing. If you've ever fancied a solid night's sleep interrupted by the sweet serenade of dripping water and the occasional rat scuttling by, then grab that tattered blanket and settle in. Just make sure you like, subscribe, and comment, only if you genuinely enjoy listening to histories that evoke more giggles than grimaces. Now, let's dim those lights, tuck in comfortably, and ask ourselves, what is life like for a young laborer in an industrial cellar? Do you ever wonder if this uncomfortable mattress is actually a recycled laundry basket? Or if that dripping water is the song of hydration, or the screams of a past tenant trapped in their own folly? Congratulations! You've just woken up in 1830, and your new home for the night is nothing short of existential horror, with a dash of comical absurdity. In this dark, cramped cellar, the air is thick enough to chew on, and every inhale feels like a gamble against whatever might be growing in the corner. As you collapse onto the straw mattress, your body is as weary as a cat after a full day of existential pondering. Limbs feeling like lead weights, you pull that tattered blanket over your shoulders. The softest fabric is reminiscent of the neighbor's kitten, which may or may not have pooped on it once. In this dim chamber, the sound of dripping water creates a lullaby that's oddly comforting in its predictability. Perhaps it's the universe's form of ASMR, designed to help you forget you're on the brink of a severe respiratory infection. Raindrops may sound charming in the countryside, but here, they drip like the clock ticking down your sanity. And the smell. With every inhalation, you're serenaded by aromatic notes of damp hay, sulfur, and that beloved essence of industrial despair. It's a bouquet more enticing than a bouquet of wilted flowers, and about as energizing as stale bread. Would it surprise you to learn that this exquisite olfactory experience is the result of mingled sweat, soot, and despair? Talk about a unique fragrance. It's like an unfortunate blend of every candle you'd accidentally light during a power outage. Speaking of power outages, let's dive deeper into your surroundings. The straw mattress, luxurious, surely, is not merely a sleeping arrangement. It's more like an invitation to embrace a host of tiny, yet-to-be-identified creatures who are more than happy to share this space with you. It's like a sleepover with eager new friends, minus the popcorn and fun. You'll find that each breath is layered with whispers of past inhabitants, snoring echoes, and the occasional rustle of a rat looking for last night's dinner. Lest you think this cellar is a far cry from modern living, consider this. Would you want to trade your plush, memory foam mattress for a pile of straw that feels like a bad day at a petting zoo? Or perhaps spend the night trying to negotiate a deal with whatever critters might be inching around your new mattress, hoping they don't mistake your foot for a midnight snack? It's all part of the experience. As sleep begins to shroud you, laughter emerges from memories of fellow workers sharing the best remedies for sleepless nights. One might suggest a cup of something warm and restorative, while the other swears by reciting the Ballad of the Soggy Straw until the sheep finally give in to exhaustion. Perhaps these remedies are simply desperate attempts to mask the reality that their evening entertainment is an ongoing battle with whatever this cellar's plummet might be trying to accomplish. Oh, but the night is your only companion here, with no comfort but that of the ticking clock. If the clock could talk, it would likely reveal tantalizing, gruesome tales of ungrateful workers and clockmakers growing bitter in their craft. The comical irony of time-telling machinery lying within an industrial slum? You couldn't make it up if you tried. Deep into your experience as the night creeps by, you might find moments of warmth mixed with cold drafts sneaking through, like uninvited guests at a dinner party. Your head might drift back to imagining the thrill of catching a nice evening breeze through gaps in the walls, which serve as natural ventilation. Brilliant. Just think of the charm of a gentle gust sweeping in to join your snuggle party, feasting on your dreams like a ravenous wolf. Eventually, you surrender to the rhythm of this peculiar night, a symphony of cold, laughter, and those charming belches of the workers above sounding off, like an industrial orchestra struggling to find its pitch. The absurdity of it pulls you closer to sleep, despite the discomfort and hints of chaos swirling outside. So, curling into that straw mattress beneath a tattered blanket, you drift into slumber, carrying with you a gentle chuckle at the absurdity of it all. As you dissolve into dreams, remember, there's humor waiting in the most unexpected places, even amidst the brooding shadows of history. Sleep tight, dear dreamer. Tomorrow holds more delightfully uncomfortable history just waiting for your eager ears. Tonight, we walked through mud thick as regret, breathed smog you could practically chew, and watched families laugh through coughs, leaks, rats, and cabbage dinners that could legally be classified as a threat. We survived cellars where warmth was a rumor, tenements where privacy meant turning your back, and courtyards where laundry flapped like surrender flags. We met tired mothers, soot-stained children, old men who snored like rusty machinery, and workers who woke before dawn only to return long after it. Yet, through the grime, through the hunger, through the choking air, people still found humor. They still joked, loved, dreamed. They shared stale bread like treasure, and stories like lanterns in darkness. And now, resting here in soft sheets, with clean water that comes from a tap instead of a queue beside a rusty pump, maybe we feel something else too. Gratitude. For blankets that don't scratch like sandpaper. For roofs that don't cry when it rains. For bathrooms with doors that actually close. For air that doesn't bite the lungs. For the simple luxury of being safe, warm, and breathing freely. So let your body sink a little deeper into comfort. Slow your breath. Let the noise of the world fade like footsteps disappearing on cobblestone. You are here. Not in a cellar, not in smog, not waiting in line for a bucket of questionable water, but in peace. Close your eyes. Let sleep approach like morning light slipping under an old wooden door. Soft, patient, inevitable. The struggles of the past remind us how fortunate we are today. Rest now. You've traveled far tonight. Good night, dreamer.